us
Sorry.
to.
No. So mean. It doesn't matter because we're back.
We're back.
106. My cup of tea. Still no intro. I still haven't made one.
Did we used to have a Michael Batty intro? Or was it always just Hyperspace?
I made a prototype one, but it was damn near 2 minutes. Because I was like, there's so many movies I want to cram in for everyone's appeal.
We gotta work on something here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because for Michael Batty, we go through so many different movies, TV shows. There's not really one thing. Like for Hyperspace Hype, the Andor Bong got us through a lot. The Han Solo jump to hyperspace is always applicable. It's always easy because we're in hyperspace.
Yeah.
I don't know. We can't just replay the Spike Lee quote from 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. I mean,
I'm sure we can
that's kind of outdated. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Can we still play the Vin Diesel the movies?
The movies. That's still. People remember that? We do.
Iconic. I have a T-shirt.
Of course you do. But yeah, Nathan. This has been a good week for television. I had a good time with this Loki episode. I managed to take notes this time. I didn't rewatch the episode, but I, thought about it and wrote down some stuff as we went along. My brother and I, as we went along. And it's one of those things where I enjoyed the episode. I have one major, minor criticism, depends how you look at it, kind of thing here. But overall, I thought it was good. It reminded me of Star Trek. One of my favorite shows from this year that I started watching is Star Trek. Crap, I forget the name. Strange New World. Thank you. I was like, what the fuck?
Strange. I said Brave. My bad.
Yeah, not Brave New World.
Is the Captain America movie, right? Now?
Sure.
New title?
Yes. I thought you were talking about like the book, the famous like 1930s book, Brave New World. That too.
I only know one book from 1930.
What is that?
That's The Hobbit.
Oh, fair enough. That Tolkien guy. Anyways, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, this episode reminded me of Strange New Worlds in terms of like the time travel shenanigans of it all. And I like how this season overall is really diving into even deeper into the time travel. I feel like the first season was much more, how do I say, much more simple, even though it was a Loki show. So there was some like complicated like multiversal stuff, but it ramped into that. Like it built towards that by the end of the series in terms of like the multiverses and stuff. We were kind of like gliding into it. But now that we've been through so many multiverse stories over Marvel and then other movies and television shows, this season seems to be diving even further into the weird time travel shenanigans, getting into weird mumbo jumbo that's kind of hard to connect to. But at the same time, it's really cool. Because I think for me, maybe you as well, but like for Loki and for other time travel shows, I don't care how it happened. I don't care about the timeline. I care about the heart of it all. I care about Loki and Sylvie. I care about Loki and Mobius. I care about how the time travel affects these characters on a like deeper level. And I think for me at least, we starting to see a glimpse of what two things here, of what the season's shaping up to be for these characters, which was my major criticism from last week, where I'm like, great episode, but I can't tell where the hell the show's going. But now I can kind of piece together where we're going. We have 4 episodes left, which is kind of still sad to me. I'm like, Loki is so good, it would benefit greatly from longer episodes. But at the same time, if the episodes keep going this way, I wouldn't have any complaints. I think Loki season 1's also 6 episodes, and it was close to perfection. But anyways, I think what this episode's revealing to me is like the bigger themes of this season in terms of like people's abilities to change, not just people, but institutions and their abilities to change as well. People and institutions. In this case, Loki, Mobius, our main characters, Loki, Mobius, Sylvie, their abilities to change, given the revelations from season 1, as well as the TVA itself. The TVA was built up as like this safe timekeeping organization. Of course, we realized it had flaws, and now it turned into something much more ominous towards the end of the first season. But Loki's now working there. He's working with them continuously now. Mobius is here too. Those are the good characters working within a corrupt organization. So I think TVA is still trying to restructure how good, and good is used lightly here, but like how good the TVA can still do here. I think the characters figured that out. But beneath that all as well, I took note of that there is a bigger theme here about like how anger affects people, at least for this episode. I don't know if that's going to be a key thing for the other episodes, but at least in this episode, how anger affects the decision making for a lot of these people. And I loved this interrogation sequence. We'll get into it. But there was a great interrogation sequence that really dives into how anger is perpetrated for like people like Loki and Mobius, and then how it's different. It's a different process for a character like Sylvie as well, which I love the direction they're going with Sylvie, because they could have done an easy way where episode 2, she's away from Loki, Loki finds her, and then back together again. I would have loved that because I'm a Loki and Sophie fan, but it's not realistic. And I like where Sylvie is by the end of this episode, still doing what she wants to do. But that all to say, I had a great time with this episode, and I can't wait to dive into it. Yeah. Do you concur?
Sorry, what? Yeah, no, it's good stuff. To your point, I love the little moment where they hold hands to do a bigger power blast, but right before Sylvie's like, "Don't overthink it."
That was great.
I was like, "I am." I love it. Yeah, this is a really compelling episode. It's somber, actually, especially by the end, which we'll get to. But yeah, man, this was a lot of it's a lot in terms of like character work, not in terms of like the overarching story, but the characters themselves. It's very and that's not a bad thing for me at all. I think you need episodes like this so that we care about the journey we're going on.
I agree. I think there's a lot, and I think that's what people and I saw some early reactions to Loki a couple weeks ago, and I think that was a slight criticism people had where it's like there's a lot happening here, both with like the time stuff, like the time travel of it all, the mumbo jumbo might be losing some people this season a little bit. You can tell the writers have changed a little bit because it's getting deeper into the sci-fi of it all, when the first season wasn't really about that. It was more so of a mystery. This one's all straight up time travel. They're even clarifying like sacred timeline, branched timeline whenever they port to a new realm or branch.
Which are all terms that we have come to know from the first season.
Exactly. So they're going deeper into what we now know from the first season, and that deeper level might lose some people, but for me, it's still fine. Because again, it doesn't really matter. Like what really matters is what we're talking about, the character changes and how they're interacting.
I've heard somebody take notice, especially with scenes with Obi, that he'll often state the issue that we're facing and the science of it, and he'll kind of reinstate it in the flow of his sentence to make sure the audience understands.
Yeah, and it's good. Excuse me, because it's not like, hey, Obi, say it to me like I'm stupid.
Speak English.
Speak English. I hate that shit. I hate it. But the way they're doing it is pretty comical, and I like how Obi is being portrayed here. I felt like, I think I'll get my big negative out the way once I find it, because I forgot what I was going to say.
There are no negatives. Good job.
Dox is still a terrible character. I mentioned this last week, where I'm like, this character of Dox. Now I remember the name, because last week I had no idea who I just know it was like the bad judge character. Yeah. And this week we finally get more of a name, and we arrest her by the end. But her name is Dox. Don't care what she's doing. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but like there was a big threat at the end where they're like pruning all these branches, and Dox is doing all this bad stuff. They arrest her, they stop it, but not before like 80% of it's gone. And they're all looking at the branches. They're like, oh, and I'm sitting there like, I know I should be feeling bad. It is a very emotional sequence for the characters, but as an audience, I'm looking at it like I just saw them beat up some guards and Dox gets arrested. Like, if I don't know why, I mean, I know why she's doing it because they're branches, but it's still like I want to know why why is she like spearheading this when nobody else is? Like, what is she? Why is she so gung ho about this? There's some theories online as well. Have you heard the theories about Dox, Nathan?
No. Uh-oh. You got me scared. I could probably give you a simple explanation.
I have a couple of theories that are not my own, but
Can I state what's not a theory?
Sure.
Not that it's true. I just mean what I picked from the story is that I think it's just a matter of not being able to comprehend the everything you knew was a lie scenario, so kind of just falling into like living in denial type essence, right?
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's like the simplest way to understand that. Yeah, she's still living in a denial, and she's like kind of fighting back about that using what she knows, which is branching it all. And I had the same criticism about the other guy from the first episode. I'm like, who is this guy? X5. I was like, who is this guy? I don't care. I don't give a shit about him. He seemed very like, I hate you, Loki. What are you doing in the first episode? But now I really like the character because we get some time spent with him, and I get to understand how he works, how he talks, how he interacts with people like Loki.
That's another interesting thing is that in the first episode, it seems like Dox and X5 had a very close whatever that like, what is this? And then he seemingly broke off away from all that.
All in between episodes, which usually I don't like that. Like there was some leeway given to the audience where you have to assume some time has passed. They're still looking for Loki. They assume Brad knows where Sylvie is. Sorry, they're looking for Sylvie, not Loki. They're looking for Sylvie. They assume Brad knows where Sylvie is because he's what they say a good tracker, and because he's doing some things on a branch or on the sacred timeline, and he might just know something, and that's all just given to us. I'm supposed to believe it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But it didn't take away from my enjoyment because what we got from Brad was a very interesting character. But yeah, overall, Dox was just my main weakness. Hopefully, in episode 3, we get what we got in episode 2. Hopefully, not verbatim, but like interrogate her. What is she all about, basically? But the theory that I heard on the internet that people say that she is an older version of Sylvie, and people think she's going about this because Sylvie by the end of the episode is like the TVA is corrupt. They're all going to keep on branching timelines, and people think she's doing this for some reason. I don't know, but people think like older version of Sylvie. I don't like it. I don't like it either. I don't like a film.
Actress playing Sylvie, mind you, already being of an older.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's weird. But I have another theory, but I'll cut to that when we get to the scene. It's in the Mobius Pie scene. That I think is way more realistic. But anyways, I'll get to that later. Let's go through beat by beat because we got some stuff to talk about. After Loki, we have some Marvel television shenanigans going on in the wider world of Feige's empire. Anyways, so we move into the 1970s, London, Nathan's favorite decade, favorite city on Earth.
It was specifically 1977, so no, Star Wars is out already. Never mind. I was gonna say they're at Elstree Studios right now, Pinewood, baby. That was 76. But Star Wars is out, and everyone's raving about. What's Brad's movie?
Zaniac.
Right.
Which is apparently a Thor villain from the comics in the 1970s who had the ability to manipulate and shapeshift, etc.
That's cool.
But yeah, so research, baby. Anyways, Brad Wolf, and also there were some Kingo posters on the walls from Kingo from Eternals.
That's cool.
Kingo from Eternals, played by what's his name?
Kamal
Nanjiani. Yeah.
Is it Kamal?
I thought it was Kumail.
Not fuck. Nagiani, yes, but
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Kumail. Is it not?
What did I say?
You said Kumal.
Right.
Which could be right.
It is. Yeah, it's Kumal Nagiani. I got it.
Okay. No AIL there.
It ends with an IL, but it's pronounced Kumal.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Kumail. I've heard some people pronounce.
I've been saying Camille. Anyways,
I'm so sorry.
yeah, I don't know what that was. Brad Wolf is
Much time.
This is why people. This is why people like and subscribe.
We're only 50 minutes in. We subscribe it. We're good.
But Brad Wolf / X5 is hiding on the Sacred Timeline. And by the end of the episode, we assume he's hiding on the Sacred Timeline. He's still going along with Dox's plan. He's not hiding on a branch timeline because he knows eventually, per the end of this episode, those branches are going to get erased. So he's hanging on the Sacred Timeline. And the question is, his character of Brad Wolf, he is a celebrity in this timeline. Basically, just in the past, this character of Brad Wolf, is this celebrity character somebody he invented from the ground up, or is this who he was originally? Was he always a celebrity, or did he just make this movie from the jump and now he is a celebrity? Doesn't really matter. I'm just curious.
I like to imagine he probably did find an original life that he was a part of, because, you know, as much as the time jump there was, seeing slight hair growth on a couple people, it's not enough to warrant like building a star-studded career at the turn of a dime, even if it was the 70s, you know.
Exactly. And as we get there, Loki's like, I don't think she's here because Sylvie usually goes to a place that is about to be struck by a natural disaster or some kind of big disaster, and Mobius has to be the one to be like, well, maybe she's changing up her tactics. New season, Loki. Did you not get the memo? Come on. Loki's like, oh, duh, season 2. Got it. But no, we get a fun Loki magic trick chase sequence, which is big Avengers 1 vibes. Not the only Avengers 1 reference in the episode, but we do get a lot of Avengers 1 vibes here with just him using plain old magic, which is very cool. We get the horns on his head, the shadows, the shadow magic, the illusions, the clones. Again, he used the illusions of like these punk rock 1970s. You know, that was a punk rock era of in London. So that was really fun. But yeah, it was a really cool chase sequence. Again, it reminded me of a Doctor Who episode or a Star Trek episode, where it's just full on like timeline back in the past, gotta go after this guy, chase sequence kind of vibe here. Once again, guys, watch Strange New Worlds. It's one of the best shows of the year. It's fantastic. Even though season 3 is probably not coming out next year because of the damn strikes. Pay your actors. But anyways, to get back to the TVA, or do you have anything else about the chase sequence?
No, I thought it was cool. I love the use of the shadows, which I think is directly from the comics.
Yeah, I love shadow magic in general in media. Shadows are really cool. Speaking of shadows, actually, I meant to bring the book with me, but I'm reading this new book called Hurricane Wars, and it is fantastic fantasy novel, young adult. Big Raylo vibes. It's written by a Raylo fanfic author who was really good. Back when I used to read Raylo fanfiction all the time. I think it's Thea. I'm gonna butcher her last name, Gorazon. But the Kylo-esque character uses shadow magic, and it's really cool. So if people are big fantasy readers out there, I would recommend Hurricane Wars. You would love it. Anyways, we get to the TVA, and the TVA, and they're trying to get OB to look at the modified temp pad that Brad was using, and OB is a bit busy trying to fix the loom. I will get to, because the loom is still trying to. Is it trying to contain the branches, or is it just trying to like?
Okay, so the way it's set up is that they established that the whole flow of time is one big circle, so eventually it's going to come back around. With all the branching timelines, it's hard to put all of that into the condensed restart of that point.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's kind of like overloading the actual filter.
It's overloading the loom and cutting ahead. OB is trying to figure that out. And the interesting part of this episode was that while OB is trying to figure this out, to be cut to later on in the episode, he's trying to fix it, and it says like negative temporal aura.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell does that mean? But it's revealed like that's the original DNA from the person that created this, which was Kang, He Who Remains. Which, we're going to see multiple versions of Kang this season. At least one of them is going to be Victor Timely from the post-credit scenes of Ant-Man and the Wasp, right?
Quantumania.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. What a title. And I thought it was alluded to somewhere else, right? Was that just it in the Ant-Man post-credit scene? Maybe. In the trailers, I guess. So, and I think that character could be coming in later in the season to help out OB, maybe, or about the TVA in general.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. It might be next week.
Oh, wow.
I'm hearing theorized because people were taking points of the trailers that we have, and it seems like in the same location we're going to have Victor Timely and Ravonna.
Whoa!
In that location, and the giant Miss Minutes.
Whoa!
Going around.
Whoa!
So it looks like we're we're kicking things off into part 2 of the season.
We just say we're cooking?
We're sizzling.
We're sizzling? Okay.
I think we've been cooking. I like Loki. God damn it.
Below Popular Soldier, though? Okay.
Whenever you look in 2 months when you go back on fucking Heartbreak, I need you to fucking slap some sense into Josh. I fucking like Loki, goddamn. He did it today. He's calling me out.
About Loki?
Yeah, and last week I bumped up my ranking of the show over a couple of shows, 2, maybe 3, could be 4. Check my letterbox, everybody.
You should put your letterbox in the chat.
So then they'll just take like, oh, look, the game's fucking bullshit 5 stars, but only 3 for this. Fuck you. I can't live that.
Anything else you want to get out of your chest here, Nathan?
I go to give some positivity on a fucking movie, and fucking Josh is always like, I don't believe you. I don't trust you. I'm like, I didn't talk to you.
Oh man,
love you, Josh.
Man. Yeah, I've been given 5 stars to a lot of things this year. I gotta be better with that. I can start enjoying things more. Anyways,
3 stars. I'm like, who am I? Oh my god.
So yeah, that's fun. I have some Renslayer theories as well. I'll fuck it. This is our podcast. We can get to it right now. But Renslayer is being tracked by Casey later on in the episode, and one of my theories I have written down here is that we're eventually going to get a solo Renslayer episode, or at least like the first, a cold open with a solo Renslayer at least. At least I would like that, because again, I think we talked about it last week where I'm like, Renslayer got the short end of the stick in season 1. She was still a fantastic character. We just didn't get a lot to know about her. She was one of the characters shrouded in mystery for a bit too long. But hopefully in this season, now that we know about the really cool and ominous voicemail from the first episode where she's like, where Kang is like, we're Ramona, I really, we can work together and, yeah, quite the Marvel. I can't do a good Jonathan Majors impression. That voice is really good. He's really killing it there. Yeah. But yeah, it's like that connection is spicy. It's popping. And it's referenced in this episode how like Renslayer and Kang, He Who Remains, they say, because that's all they know, is have something going on. And the main theory right now is that like Renslayer and Kang had a connection, possibly romantic, definitely romantic. Yeah. And then had her memory wiped. She then created the TVA, but but still was in slight communication with. No, that wouldn't work.
I think the TVA is
But
before the memory wife because
you think the TVA is before memory wipe? Okay.
well, yeah, because Loki's flying around TVA with Kang statues everywhere, and they're all operating like Mobius.
True. Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, as was revealed in the first episode, it was like memory or TVA was constructed, then memories wiped, and then the statues are hidden away, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works. But yeah, so I'm really hoping we get a Renslayer solo episode, or just see what her experience is like, or has been like with Miss Minutes. Because that'd be very interesting.
I would like to see, her because I think she was a principal, right, at a school.
See, yeah.
Which it's a good. We can get somebody to run TVA. It's a good call, I guess. So imagine she's chilling in her office, and then lo and behold, Kang walks in, all, I can fix that.
She's like,
onions.
I didn't even think about that. I thought about their relationship at the TVA realm. But you're right. Kang would have had to found her out as a principal. Did he just? What was so interesting about her? Did he just stumble upon? See, that's the kind of thing I would like. Just see me. I want to see their interactions. Jonathan Majors and I keep forgetting the person that plays Ramona. But she's a great actress too, and I would like to see. Is Google Mbathu Raw, right? Google Mbathu Raw. That's her name. I'm not going crazy. I would love to see Google with Jonathan and just see like how that interaction sparked, the initial spark, kind of a la that Miss Marvel episode that I liked, where we see Kamala's grandmother in India during the apartheid movement first meet like her grandfather, the person that was on the run. That was a very romantic episode. And I really, really like for Loki to do that in one of their episodes. Like, take the time to spend people outside of Loki, even though the show is called Loki. Anyways, that was my Renslayer stuff for the episode. But yeah, so OB is trying to tell them about the, hey, I can't fix the temp pad, but read the freaking manual. He gives them the TVA manual. They're like, oh, we should probably read these.
He wrote it.
He wrote it, exactly. But eventually that temp pad, because they need the temp pad, or first of all, they realize the temp pad is modified. They go to OB. He says, it can't be possible, whatever, read the manual. But then eventually they gave it to Casey, who then OB and Casey trying to figure out, like, using the modified temp pad, where is Miss Minutes? Because they theorize, of course, like we just said, Miss Minutes is working with Renslayer. And that relationship is kind of very interesting as well, because you can assume Kang is like the father to Miss Minutes, and if Renslayer and Kang have been working so closely together, at least in the past, Miss Minutes can be like Renslayer could be like the mother to Miss Minutes, and that's why Miss Minutes is so closely aligned with Renslayer. Again, I would kind of like to see that relationship unfold. Maybe, like you said, we'll get that in episode 3. But yeah, so I would really like to see this Renslayer Miss Minutes connection unveiled. But again, it's really cool to see Casey and them try and look her up using the modified temp pad, which eventually, fast forward, they eventually do find her after all the pruning has been pruned. I can only assume that they eventually like, oh, we got her now out of nowhere, is because given all these branches are being pruned, I can imagine Renslayer Miss Minutes, who has all the knowledge about branches, is telling Renslayer where to go. Like, hey, this one's about to explode. Jump here. Oh, wait, this one's about to get exploded. Jump here. Like, they're jumping from branch to branch, now knowing they're getting pruned. So the process of jumping from branch to branch then alerts people like Casey and OB to be like, oh, well, we finally got her because she's doing it a lot. Where in the past, they haven't been able to find Miss Minutes and Renslayer because nothing's been happening. They've been chilling, just like Sylvie. And again, yeah. So I think just because all the pruning is happening, I think that caused Renslayer to be spotted much earlier than maybe she was expecting. So yeah, we'll see what happens to Renslayer. Oh, and then I took note, Renslayer's last line in season 1 was where was it? See, I have all these notes, but then I lose track of the important ones. She says like I want to be free, or something about like I'm trying to be free here. Before she goes into the doorway. And I think that notion of being free is still very compelling. I'm like, you want to be free. What is she exactly doing with Miss Minutes? How is she going about this? Is she going back to just be a principal? Is that it? Or does she go to Kang? I kind of assumed she went to go find Kang, but she could have easily just done what Brad is doing and go back to her original life as well. Remains to be seen. So yeah, Renslayer tape. Yeah, right there. There's my note. Yeah, she was off to look for free will. That's what it was. Yeah. Anyways, we get to the interrogation scene, which I think was very compelling. What did you think about it all?
Oh yeah, I liked it a lot. I think I called like right from the jump. I was like, Moby's in on it. He was like,
that was the second one.
First interrogation. My bad.
The first one was Loki, Brad going off on Loki mostly.
Yeah, it's compelling. After watching, like the first time I watched the episode, I was like, shut the fuck up, Brad. Fucking leave my boy alone. Leave Loki alone. He's been through enough. And then, I watch it again and I'm like, damn, this man is a compelling actor.
Very good. Have you seen Midnight Mass?
Nah, I need to watch more Flanagan stuff.
Flanagan the Beast. Tonight, after this podcast, I'm going to go watch House of Usher episode 1. But yeah, Brad reminded me of this character from Midnight Mass, where he's just like, just honesty. I need you to be honest, and he's just yelling at the main character. It's very compelling. But yeah, I think Brad kind of reminds me of that, where he's trying to talk to Loki, being like, you can't change. Like, you and Sylvie, whatever you've done, all you've done is cause chaos. Trying to help, but all you do is fail. He's talking about all his failures, like the failures with his mother that's brought up. Even though this is Loki from Avengers, so he has no idea that his mother is dead or is going to die. What?
In episode 1, he's
aware. Oh yeah, he does now. Yeah, he's aware of everything, right? Yeah. He watched the
episode of Marvel Legends that has this.
Exactly.
Those are really convenient when a new property's coming out and you just don't want to binge 20 movies.
Of course you watch Marvel Legends.
I do. I got like, what was it? Fucking Guardians series coming out, and yes, I could have just watched a couple Guardians films, but I was like, they had like one for spotlighting every single character, and I was like, fucking yeah, let's go.
Nice. This is Gamora. Here's her rap sheet. The voice of God.
What?
From Suicide Squad.
Oh, okay.
I quote DC. David quotes Marvel.
She's got my back. I would advise not being killed by her. Her sword traps the souls of their victims. Just exposition.
So bad.
Poor Joel Kinnaman.
Poor Joel Kinnaman. Those lines, man. God.
And then he's like, all right, but I didn't hate him in that. But then I'm like, I'm really loving him in the Suicide Squad.
Dead.
James, man, I love you, but don't do this.
He was fucking great in the Suicide Squad. Oh man, so good. What a movie. Nathan hates it though.
Don't josh me. I'm not alone. As in love it.
That's fair. Anyways, I like how he lashes out about again, like Loki can't change. He can't change a new leaf. And I think this is kind of the beginning of the character building that I kind of loved about Loki here. And it kind of reflects about the TVA as well, where he's saying Loki can't change a new leaf, even though us as the audience bear witness to Loki basically changing a new leaf in season 1, spurred on by characters like B-15, Mobius in his corner, and especially Sylvie being like his new rock, basically, for lack of better words there, really helping him put himself on a better path.
Even if you were to just go by his like predetermined destiny, like always supposed to be the villain, like we've seen his whole journey, he turned a new leaf by Ragnarok.
That's a great point. Yeah, I was like, you're right. Even without the influence of the people we've seen from the TVA and Loki season 1, the Loki in the other branch was able to create a redemption arc for himself. It took a longer time, of course. He wasn't able to see his past, present, and future. But you're right. Like even this god of mischief was able to eventually become who he was always meant to be, like the son of Odin. Which is that's why I really love his death in Infinity War.
It's so good, especially when he does declare himself as Odin's son. It's just like, does he have to die?
Yeah, I was pissed when he died. I was like, damn. But we got a show out of it, so yay.
A new Loki. Which I remember being very skeptical going into the show. I was very like,
me too.
Like, am I gonna feel cheapened by this? Like just going with a brand new Loki, but like they've really like made him come into his own. Because I mean, granted, it's the same Loki at a certain point, just diverging. But you really get that sense of like, it's his own Loki, but the same spirit of the one that we grew to know.
Totally, it's a phenomenal balancing act. Like we're getting so much individuality with this Loki that makes him so interesting. He's easily, for me at least, a top 10 MCU character, if I even had that anymore. Right?
He might be top 5, man.
yeah, right. He has to be, right, because a lot of his
just so many heroes. It's like, oh shit.
There's so many heroes, so many. I mean, like, I don't want to sound like an MCU hater, but like, there's not a lot of like very great, compelling characters in the MCU. I mean, I love like Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther is there for me.
Yeah.
And then Tony Stark, of course, Captain America, of course. But like Loki, given what we've got from like the 6 episodes of season 1 and the first 2 episodes here. Man, it's some good stuff. Man, this character is so fucking great. Like this show. What?
Do you have him over Thor in development?
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't have to scoff. You didn't.
Because I didn't start loving Thor until 2017. With Thor Ragnarok.
Holy shit! What is that? The 5th entry?
Probably. Thor. I wasn't a fan of Thor 1. I mean, having revisited the franchise as an adult, I'm like, okay, I can appreciate Thor 1. Thor 2 is still pretty much boring for me. Minus the Loki stuff. I like that. Yeah. I didn't really love Thor in the first Avengers. He was a funny character, but I wasn't really like, man, that Thor guy. But until Ragnarok, where there was like, okay, this guy has an interesting layer to him. Even though people like to say it's a comedy, but there's a lot of interesting layers to Loki and Thor in the Ragnarok. Anyways, this Loki scene, just seeing him, the facial reactions to Brad in Loki as Brad is like talking about his mother, his inability to change. It was so interesting, and like you don't really see Loki get angry here. And he's kind of like the way he processes it is very different from the way Mobius does, because he is a god of mischief. He probably has heard this a lot of the time from his own father, right? So
it's very compelling because we've seen Loki like have outbursts, but he doesn't crack here.
No, you see him like swallow, like he's like. Anyways,
you feel like the truth of the situations that he's been a part of like hit him, and like he's aware he's not been the best person. But
he's murdered a lot of people.
Yeah,
he says it. He says it.
A lot of people. There are a lot of casualties in New York.
But just a few.
But he obviously like feels remorse and doesn't want to be that person anymore.
Yeah,
it's also an interesting parallel when you like look to like the scene from Avengers that he has with Black Widow. When he's like reading her in lockup, it's an interesting mirror in that sense that he's on the other end of it.
Agreed, right? Like this is again, that's why I said at the beginning up top, there's so many references to Avengers 1 here, because the way he manipulates Scarlet in that first scene is kind of the same way he manipulates, or Brad is trying to manipulate Loki here, in just terms about like this is what you can't or cannot do. What I was going to say though is also Brad talking to Loki about his inability to change can also be a reflection about the TVA's inability to change, right? The TVA And this has been one of the more interesting things, the complexity of the TVA as a structure, as a core function, right? And again, in season 1, we learned like its core function is like trying to handle all these branches. Soon to be revealed in season 1 that they were pruning branches and destroying lives. Just like Brad's talking about, Loki destroys lives. He kills a million. So Loki and the TVA as a structure are trying to both rebuild themselves this season. We're introduced to new layers of the TVA, literally a new layer, and they go to the basement and find OB, who is a pretty, benevolent character. So it's very interesting to see the TVA kind of restructure himself through these different characters trying to do good for the timeline. Like, OB trying to save it through the loom. Loki's trying to save it through finding Sylvie. Like, it's very interesting how they're processing this process of change for Loki and Sylvie. I kind of like it. But overall, then he lashes out at Mobius, and this is different, right? Because like as you mentioned, Loki he handles it. This is stuff that he's heard before, and he kind of like he tries the bad cop. Mobius tries to do the good cop, but Brad gets under his skin, talking about like, you don't really question where you came from, Mobius, like your past life. You never wondered where you came from, all that kind of stuff, really digging into. And this is what I talked about. Mobius's arc, and for the remainder of the season, might be him dealing with what is on his mind here with his past life.
Yeah, it's really compelling. It had me sitting here thinking to myself, I was like, we've had so many like jokes in regards to, Mobius and the jet ski, that I feel like by the time we hit any form of a payoff with that, we're gonna find out there's a deep fucking emotional cut to it. Like maybe he had a past life of me where he would spend time jet skiing with him.
Nathan, this isn't even a theory. It has to happen.
It has to, not just like, oh, I'm having fun. It's not just, it can't just be like a 10-second thing. It has to be deep rooted.
I am tearing up thinking about what we could possibly get. Like, if I'm a writer, I would have been cooking this in season 1. An emotional reveal. And please, Marvel, don't make it a comedy scene where he's just like, hey, I like jet skis. Like, come on. There's so much emotional, whatever you want to call it, gut punch to be had here with Mobius's past life, his family life. He seems like a family man, right? Because he's such a good guy. Like, he seems like, what if he was ripped away from his family, like his wife and 2 daughters or something? And he loved the jet skiing because the last day he spent with them was just hanging out on the beach, jet skiing as a family, right? Like something, right? I need to make it as emotional as possible because it's Mobius, man, and he's such a great character. Seeing him react to this outburst was just such a very interesting layer that I haven't seen Mobius have ever, and it was very interesting.
Oh yeah, Evan, imagine we get to like the finale, and Mobius sees the life with his family, and then he's offered the opportunity to go back with them and leave the TVA, and Loki being like, well, no, because we need somebody like you. But then Mobius gives his job position to Loki in the TVA.
Wow, that would be fantastic. That would be really good.
Kind of feels like what, the ending of Men in Black, Tommy Lee Jones, like getting mind wiped.
Yeah, what a great scene. Men in Black. We got to commentary the first one. That was a classic. Yeah. Men in Black 2 is fine, and then 3 sucks.
Why do people hate 3? I like 3.
I can't stand 3. But granted, I was the only person at my old job that hated 3. Everybody was like, Evan, you're crazy. 3 is the best.
3 made me cry, damn it.
The beach scene?
Yeah, it's a good scene. God damn it.
Didn't care for it. That weird chase at the beginning of the movie, awful.
I don't know.
Awful. there's this awful chasing.
I love this movie. What happened?
But to that point, of back to Mobius, I could see that being the conclusion of his arc, at least not conclusion, but like a high point of his arc, making that choice between sticking with what he knows in the present, the TVA, like he talks about, or going back to his family. It is a very interesting choice. I don't know what he would make. I can see him doing something like that, Nathan, but also the selfish nature of me was like, if they do a season 3, which I hope they do, I don't want a season without Loki and Mobius. Unless Loki and Sylvie are now working in the TVA, then that's different. Then we're cooking. Then we got it. Then we got it. And then we can waste half a season without Mobius because we'll have Sylvie. And it'll be fine.
Maybe Thor pops up.
You had me and then you lost me.
No, I'm not serious. That was a callback joke to where you guys were like, "Oh, Loki's gonna be in Thor 4."
Fuck off.
Got you.
Fuck off.
And then y'all were like, "Oh, he has a fucking tattoo. It counts." Fuck off.
Did I say that?
One of you did. I feel like
the tattoo about Loki, right?
Yeah, the RIP Loki. That's canonically on Thor's back.
Oh gosh. What a movie.
Which we were praising in some aspects for the heart of it, remember?
We liked it way more than the internet did when it came out. Granted, I don't feel any relevance to rewatch it. But I think it's not as bad as people say it is. You know, there's some good heart to it. But we picked it apart. We picked it apart.
Yeah, we weren't praising it for the humor, which is
right.
A lot of people's faults for it. Like underneath, like the core heart of it is compelling.
We got to what Taika was trying to say. It was, it's messy, but it's there if you want to look for it. And we talked.
If you want to give me a director's cut,
Taika's like, there's no fucking thing as a director's cut. Taika seemed that the guy was like, fuck director's cuts. Like,
all right, give me a director's cut. I don't know.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3
So yeah, but getting to this Mobius scene where he what's it called? Pie. And I really love this scene here. Man, Loki and Mobius are just 2 for 2 in this first 2 episodes. Just peak Loki and Mobius scenes.
Oh yeah.
Last week where we what?
Go ahead.
Yeah, last week when we got to him, Loki saving Mobius, coming into last minute, them just like hugging together. I'm like, that's what I love. And then this pie scene is just awesome.
It's so good. Awesome. There was a lot of words back and forth, but the one part that really stood out to me was Loki pitching the idea. You know, I know it probably eats you up, the thought of like leaving something bad behind, and it's like, no, something bad I can handle. Let's leave behind something good that troubles me. It's like, because fucking ow, dude. And I think he did. He left the jet skis.
I think something good. And I empathize with Mobius' decision here, where he's like, I don't want to know what happened in the past. I only need to care about what happens right now.
It's like the situation of like, do you want to know how you would die? Like, no, I don't. That would eat away at me forever.
Always, yeah. It would change the course of your life forever. But yeah, I think this scene in the interrogation scene, like, it goes into what I love about this episode is it's how both characters, Loki and Mobius, and then eventually Sylvie, how they process anger, how anger can affect your actions and then your future actions and create this cycle where there's no real solution. We saw in season 1 how Sylvie responded to anger, where she had this vendetta, this ominous vendetta, where it only led to the death of He Who Remains, which created more dangers for Docs and for characters like that, and for Loki. Like, it created this cycle that's just now, in terms of time, never ending with the branches. But also for characters like Loki and Mobius, how they're responding to anger. Loki kind of like swallowed it up because he is a god of mischief and kind of like bottled it up and partially conceded to it, but also partially was just like, I don't give a fuck what you're saying. While Mobius actually lashed out and took it to heart. Because regardless of what he's trying to say here about, I want to live in the present, we do know, as Mobius is a character, he's a very, how do I describe it? Like an emotionally, especially as like the reveals came in season 1, as he grew Mobius has become this emotional character. So we know it did get to him, obviously. And I think regardless of what he says, he kind of deep down does want to know. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I think he's not saying what he truly feels, but he also really wants to believe that he just doesn't want to look back. He doesn't want to look back at all, but a part of him does. It's very interesting. So yeah, just how these characters deal with anger, this process. Like it's a shorter process for Loki and Mobius because they're willing to talk it out and they come up with a better plan. While Sylvie is just by herself and she has nobody really to help with this anger. It's a much more longer process with Sylvie, and we'll get to Sylvie in a second here. But this comes to my next theory, and it's also going to be very emotional in terms of like the Men in Black of it all. Mobius talks about, or so Loki asks him, "You don't want to talk to the person that stole your life away, Mobius?" And Mobius is like, "No, I would want to shake the guy's hand and thank him because because he likes the life that he's living right now." I thought this was a very interesting scene. People on the internet, and now me, are thinking, Nathan, drumroll please, what if Loki from the past is the one that takes Mobius?
Don't do that. Don't you Men in Black 3 me and then be okay with it. Don't you denounce and then have the how dare you stand where he stood. All right. Oh,
wouldn't that be heartbreaking?
Don't do that.
I can see it happening because the way he said, I think he said something along the lines of like the person that brought me here also gave me pie or something like that.
Don't fucking Tenet me. All right?
Like, what if because of this scene with Loki and the pie, Loki now knows about this whole pie scenario, just like in the first episode with the whole like, now that I know about it in the present, I could use it in the past kind of thing, right? So like with OB, that same rule applies here, where Loki now knows Mobius has a connection with Pi, given his first encounter in the past. Whoever took Mobius gave him Pi, and that's why Mobius ran straight to the Pi place. What if Loki now, with his knowledge, is the one to take Mobius because he has to, because of time reasons, brings him to the TVA, shakes his hand, gives him Pi, but of course, memory gets wiped, and of course Mobius doesn't remember any of that, and neither does Loki. So that would be that'd just be very interesting. I think that could very much happen, and I would be heartbroken and I'd be crying.
like imagining like it comes down to a thing where like, you know, there's like one surviving like branching timeline that's like kind of like a, you know, something that's negatively affecting the others, and it's like we have to close the loop in a way, and to do that you have to close the memory of your minds of these events here to secure that, and then it becomes unlike, so it's like a self-sacrifice for the greater timelines. Don't fucking, goddamn it. Don't do this to me. Don't give me tragic. Can I have a happy ending? Can I have one? Just one.
I think we're in for a happy ending with season 2 at least, even though I do want a season 3 so badly.
No happy ending until after Avengers 6.
Whatever it's called, Secret Wars. But yeah, I think that'd be a very emotionally damaging scene for the audience, but also like it could go full circle. I think it makes a lot of sense given what we know about how time is working, what they're doing with time in season 2 so far, making it that kind of a loop and that cyclical nature of it all, between past, present, and future. So yeah, rest of the episode we hang out with Sylvie. We finally, first of all, they go through the crazy interrogation with Brad. They shrink him using that contraption. It's very, oh my god! If that was happening to me, I'm like, I would have squealed like a baby. Oh my god!
My claustrophobia. Ooh. So bad.
The way he's like, I'm done. I'm sorry. I fucked up.
Fuck it. I'm sorry.
That was some very cool visual effects, by the way, too. The way they did that.
Oh yeah, I like that. Like it looks like a glass prism that's like chipped and cracked on the edges.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Also, the initial demonstration of crushing the chair is like, holy shit.
Yeah, that was like, oh shit.
Never mind.
Yeah, I'm good. So yeah, Loki. What's it called? We get a fantastically awkward scene. So they find out where Sylvie is. We go to McDonald's in 1983. I want to say.
Back when it looked appealing.
I know, right? It looked like a good old diner.
Yeah, nice red building, not the fucking prison gray that the uniform have now. What happened?
What happened to the heart? The
I
soul.
think I heard the company fucking random. I think I heard the company like shifted away from marketing towards kids and more sort of marketing towards like the food and drive-through convenience of parents who would be taking them anyway. That drives up business in that sense instead of kids just like begging to go.
Weird. Huh, makes sense.
It makes sense, but I'm like, fucking, where's the magic of McDonald's?
Where's the love?
Where's Ronald? Is he safe?
They killed his ass.
Oh no, Grimace is back.
But yeah, we get this fantastically awkward scene between Loki and Sylvie when they reunite. I loved this. For all those who've been watching our Hyperspace Hype Ahsoka episodes, this is kind of what I wanted Ezra and Sabine's reunion to be. Just have the camera linger on them. Don't cut the episode. Have it linger. Give me an awkward scene, like so. And they played the great score from the Lamentis episode, where it's very like the solemn, but also a tingle of romance in there as well. It was a great scene. And are you going to order anything? And Loki's just sitting there. It's just very awkward. It's fantastic. I loved everything about this. Sylvie's back in the groove of it. And I like seeing Brad and Mobius kind of like watch from above, like, do you see what's going on here? This like I don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling here. This is very weird. It was just very cool.
Great line from Mobius where he's like, they say opposites attract. No. Like my man's jealous.
So yeah, they're just lashing out basically about like how Sylvie, hey, we need your help, and she wants nothing to do with the TVA. She wants to separate herself from Loki and from everybody. She just wants to, I've been talked about in last week's episode. She wants to order everything. She wants to live life no matter how dull it could be. She just wants to enjoy the tranquility of it all. She doesn't want to go back to the chaos of it all.
Yeah. She got a truck now.
What?
She got a truck now.
Yeah, she got a truck. She's just chilling.
Bangs. Looking great.
Bangs. Yeah, usually, yeah. It's not wearing the Fast 7 or Fast 8 Charlize Theron bangs or whatever those were. Those were.
With that bowl haircut.
That was
Poking
bad.
my head looking ass. It was better in 10, but fucked.
Yeah, it took them like two to 3 tries to probably get it right.
Oh, Fast 9, she had the fucking bowl hair. She had dreads in 8.
What was that? Oh man.
Oh.
Universal.
But now they're like heroizing her, and I'm like, okay. Please get better. It's slowly getting better, but I'm like,
exactly.
Fucked on Gazelle, goddamn it.
But yeah, I like seeing them connect a little bit. You can tell there's still a spark between them. So eventually, Mobius is like, you originally wanted, you didn't want us to get here, but now that we're here, you want to get the hell out of Dodge. Like, what's going on here? This could be a trap. It's a trap.
I love the phrase "get the hell out of Dodge." I say it so often to myself. I never hear anybody else say it.
You do? Oh.
Yeah.
I wonder what it means. Get the hell out of Dodge. What's Dodge?
Yeah, I think it originated from an old school. It was either show or movie that like they were like some bad people coming to town, and they were said like, let's just wrap this shit up so we can get the hell out of Dodge. Like the town was called Dodge.
Oh, and that was just stuck in our minds.
Yeah. Let's blow this popsicle stand.
Love that for us.
Yeah.
I haven't had a popsicle in a minute.
I got one waiting for me. I mean, there was like my nephews had some popsicles, and they're like, "Last one's for you." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." Haven't gotten to it yet.
You know
I
what I
want to.
love? Those flavored ice things that were like in the plastic where you can just like
Oh
you
yeah,
know what I
those.
mean.
Yeah. Those I think
Fuck.
they're called popsicles, like
Popsicle like things.
ice
Yeah.
pops. Yeah,
Ice pops. Yeah.
they're like they're just in like a long thin plastic,
Yeah.
and they start out as just like they're melted. You have to freeze them,
You have to
and
freeze it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you
Those
just
things were
like fucking
delicious.
cut the scissors off top, and you just
Oh my god. I
scoot it up on
devoured
the
those.
thing.
Yeah.
Fucking rabbit with celery.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the worst thing in the world is if you don't have fucking scissors or anything to cut that shit open with, and you're just fucking.
It's horrible. You gotta use your teeth. It's bad. It's
It's
bad.
bad, and it's so strong too. It's like I'm gonna break something.
Yeah, it ain't it. But yeah, they eventually realized that it's a trap. Technically, it's not a full trap, but like Brad didn't clue them in that Docs is about to prune all these branches, including theirs. So that kind of spurs Sylvie on to be like, "Not this McDonald's, hell no." And then she eventually helps out Loki to go to the timeline using the temp pad, something I forget how to get there. They eventually find Docs and evil crew basically going from branch to branch, bombing it. And it's really like weird and difficult to watch. It's just like bomb walks out, bomb walks out. And it's bad. Then we get a great acting sequence of Loki and Sylvie being stronger when they're together. They literally hold hands. And it's fantastic.
Was
They're
it the
stronger.
dyad?
Yes. They're stronger together. They don't realize it. Oh, I froze. But they're stronger together.
It was so funny. You were just like,
I was hyped. And it was a great action sequence. It was great seeing them united and seeing all the magic and stuff again. But yeah, and then what was so compelling and interesting about this all was that after the arrest Docs, it all ends. Then the camera pans to Sylvie, and she's just watching as all these like pruning is happening, and we don't really hear what's going on in her head, but you can kind of examine like, man, it's happening again. Like the TVA is again up to its nefarious ways. But Loki is trying to tell me that, hey, we're changed. We're trying to fix things now. We need you to come back to the TVA to help us. When she just witnessed the dark side of the TVA do all this bad shit. And that, again, makes her want to get the hell out of Dodge. And she leaves again, which is sad for Loki, but, it's what Sylvie wants to do. And again, it goes back to what I was saying in terms of how these characters are processing anger. Well, Loki and Mobius had the ability to talk to each other at that brotherly relationship kind of way. Sylvie kind of gets out of there and just like wants to sulk in her sadness some more and just want to live in that idea of kind of like what Mobius was saying. Like, we're like, I don't care what happened in the past. I don't care what's happening around me. I just want to focus on the present. Well, Sylvie kind of takes that to an extreme where she doesn't want to focus on the present. She doesn't want to focus about anything. She wants to focus on just McDonald's, clocking in for her next shift, and just living life. I really like this direction from Sylvie. I like that she's not immediately into the action. We get a great shot of her just sitting on top of a car, just chilling.
looking at the stars.
Looking at the stars. Like, this is what I like about Loki. Take your time with your characters. Let your scenes linger. You don't have to move from one scene to the next or just end an episode. Linger. I was shocked when we actually got that whole scene. From any other show, that this is a deleted scene. This is easily a deleted scene.
Sylvie would have walked out. Loki would have like looked down at the credits.
Yeah. Right. Totally. But we get a weird scene between Sylvie and this other employee. Like, you clocking in tomorrow, Sylvie? Yep. Okay. Is your mom picking you up? Yep. She's coming. And then,
this boy's a crush for sure.
Big time.
I get it. I
get it. She's taken. But yeah, this is a great episode. I had a great time with it. We're finally delving into the emotional side of Loki, Mobius, Sylvie, how the TVA is both trying to reinvent itself, but also a part of it with Docs is still very bad in pruning other branches and destroying millions, billions of lives here. So it's something that there was a grand magnitude of it all that I don't think was fully felt, at least by me. So I'm curious to see how the episodes next week at least delves into that. We also got more of Casey this episode, which I liked. Casey and Mobius, a dynamic duo that I did not expect, but I like.
Casey and Obi.
Casey and Obi, yeah, sorry. So yeah, I'm excited for next week.
Hey, I like the ending of the episode too. I was very compelled by the emotional weight of the timelines being pruned.
Okay. Yeah.
I personally, I was actually feeling it before we were being showcased. I was feeling it as they were actively bombing during the action scene. It's just like the story I always tell when I first saw Rogue One. It's like everyone's like, "Look at this badass Vader scene." I'm sitting in here like, Rogue One just died.
Yeah.
Like I can't focus.
Yeah, like, give me time to breathe.
Right. And so I was really taken aback, and when it just doubles down when Hunter B-15 is just like, oh my god, these are people. These are all people dying, like as the branches are closing, and this had me like really thinking about whether it's because we've been exploring a lot of the multiverse lately and different properties, whether it's within the MCU or like the Spider-Verse and stuff. New characters that we've come to know and love, or old characters that we've loved from the past coming back. We have an emotional tie to so many different types of variants that branch away from our sacred timeline. So that alone, within the residence of like these different properties that I've experienced, like just the thought of like these timelines being pruned is enough to emotionally affect me, because imagining all these different characters of these different branches that you love being erased and dying and not existing at all anymore is very sad.
Very, very sad. Yeah. So yeah, this was big, and I think Docs is arrested, and we got to figure out like, what is your game plan here? Was this it? Is this the end result of your actions here? What else do you have planning? Is this it? Because I think she was cast to be like the big bad of the season, or at least one of them, at least because Kang is Kang.
Docs, you said?
Docs, that's her name. Dox.
She's a pretty like prevalent actress, so I can see how.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We shall see.
And credit scene was compelling. Hanging out in the Wendy's.
You're lying.
I kid you not. Kang is in a Wendy's as a
You're lying.
competitor to McDonald's. I can't kill. You couldn't stop calling me a liar for 10 more seconds.
I'm sorry.
And then fucking Docs comes in and she's like, have it your way. And she's in the Burger King outfit.
Get out of here. Oh my God.
I like how you said that with absurdity, as if you were still maybe buying the Wendy's. Like I could excuse Wendy's, but I draw a line at Burger King.
Yes.
Like you could excuse Wendy's?
A little bit. How
many times you think agreed to fast food? Holy shit.
That's funny.
No, actually, they bring back the Dairy Queen from Guardians as a return.
I used to go to Dairy Queen all the time. There's like one Dairy Queen in Cincinnati. I miss it, man.
I see the Dairy Queen in my town. I'm like, this shit looks so run down. I did not want to go over there.
Never mind.
I'm like, if I turn over that Blizzard, that shit is gonna pour. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, but there's a very nice person who works there just looking for a customer.
I remember the episode of SpongeBob where like, no, you've been in the Krusty Krab for a minute. And there's that fish crawling with food, water. It's like, a Krabby Patty. Where's the pizzazz? He's like crawling away. Food, water, atmosphere.
Yeah.
Holy
Good.
shit.
Classic shit.
Okay, we need to set up commentary time for SpongeBob.
We have commentary time for a lot of shit, Nathan. We're we don't have enough time. Oh, we do have time. We're podcasting till we're 40, 45. And
Almost
that's the count.
there.
We're almost there.
Like 25 years to retirement.
Speaking of never ending, Kevin Feige was like, I got another one in me.
We've only scratched the surface, which to some is like, oh, cool. And to others, they're like,
stop.
Yeah, they say that. And it's like, you keep watching. You do this to you.
So our next topic, we're going to get into this Marvel TV and Kevin Feige stuff. Mm-hmm. But the box office long-range tracking came in for Captain Marvel, Nathan. And it was looking at 50 to 75 million. That's what Box Office Pro is projecting. Granted, Box Office Pro projected Barbie was going to make, 45 million 2 months before it came out. So long-range tracking is prone to go up or down given the pre-sales. And because Captain Marvel's pre-sale was just released, they released a long-range tracking based on those early pre-sales. It's looking at 50 to 75, which would be very much not what I was thinking. And granted, Captain Marvel opened up with 153, I think, million in 2019. 2019 was like the box office boom times. And it was, of course, preluding Avengers Endgame, so it had that hype building on it. I figured, okay, it has way less hype now, but it'll still do like Ant-Man numbers, like 100 million, 90 to 100. 50 to 75 seems very low to me. I'm still predicting, though, 90 to 100, though, when it all said and done, opening weekend. But this does interest me because combining this with the Kevin Feige quote, like, we only scratched the surface. I have like other movies in my mind, of course. And of course he does. Like, we all know the Phase 6 and beyond X-Men era is happening soon. Fantastic Four era is happening soon. But if the box office keeps going down like this, if Captain Marvel does open up to like a 50 million, I wonder how things would change, if at all. Because they're still leading up to Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars later than expected, but they're still coming out. Yeah. So I'm curious how those movies, like, people are saying Secret Wars is going to be the biggest movie ever, guys, because it's Secret Wars. They're bringing back Hugh Jackman, and Tobey Maguire's coming back again, and it's going to be huge. And what if it's not? That'd be crazy. I don't know.
Remember the era briefly that we were living in, where we were like, "Wow, Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars in the same year."
It's not even an era; it was a night, right? Like it was a couple weeks.
And then how fast the night changes! That quote.
Exactly. The clock struck midnight. We're like, okay, that's not happening. But that was a bold claim by Feige.
I was like,
he said with utmost confidence, like in the same year. You can look at the PowerPoint, guys.
I think I remember talking. Only like similar thing we had close to that in terms of time wise was like Deathly Hallows 1 and 2. Like one released in November, and the next one came out July.
Exactly. Yeah, very quick. That's how you do it. Matrix was like another one from decades ago, right?
Yeah.
2 and 3.
They were the same year, 2002.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, that was an interesting topic. I was like, I wonder if Captain Marvel doesn't do that well. I'm excited to see it. I mean, Kamala is a great character. I can't wait to see more of her. Fun tidbit: my dad keeps seeing the Captain Marvel trailer. He's like, "That looks so dumb. That looks so stupid." I'm like, Dad, come on. He liked the first Captain Marvel.
Didn't you watch Candyman?
No, not even close.
You don't watch Candyman?
No, he's not a horror guy. None of my family is horror people. I mean, Jalen kind of is. Like, I have to force him to watch like a Conjuring movie. I have to force him to watch like, other stuff. He saw Hereditary and what was the other one? Hereditary and the other Ari Aster movie. Midsommar, yeah. He saw that like over the summer because he was watching it with friends, but that was it. Yeah. He didn't see it with me. Anyways,
I feel like I had to rope you into somehow. We're at like something 40-something horror commentary.
I know. Yeah, I wasn't the horror guy. Yeah, and, I think Midnight Mass, Haunting of Hill House, kind of really changed the way I looked at horror. Because the anniversary for Haunting of Hill House came out like a couple days ago. And I'm like, this is one of my favorite shows ever. And it really changed the way I look at horror. Because I've been diving into a lot of horror things that I just usually didn't a couple years ago. Now if it's horror, I'm like, I'll go see it in theaters. Granted, I haven't seen The Nun or Exorcist yet, but I will eventually.
I had a funny story. It's kind of tangent. So I went to the Taylor Swift concert yesterday. The Eras tour.
You went to the theater. You saw a movie, actually.
Yeah, I did. Well, yeah, it was a pre-recorded thing. They gave me a wristband. They gave me a bracelet.
Fake fan.
I don't know what it means. There's a date on here, November 22nd. I couldn't tell you. Not her birthday. So, like I thought. So
you looked it up, didn't you?
I thought I'm sitting in the back. It's like,
is that November 22nd? Never mind. I was gonna say that when the Eras tour originally started, but no, that was this year, right?
In trying to Google it, I think it's one of the dates, but like, there's no way they're just dates because other ones had like more meaningful stuff. It says Wish on it as well. So, I mean,
promoting the Disney movie Wish.
Yes, the Make-A-Wish Foundation actually.
Okay.
I was literally just in my seat, and I thought I was in trouble for a second because dude walked up to me, and he's just like, "Hey, do you have a wristband? Did you get a friendship bracelet?" And I'm like, "I did not." I'm ready to pull out my ticket. Like, I got it.
They get the fuck out of here, then.
No, he has like 12 on his wrist, and he's like, "Here you go."
Ew. What the fuck?
He's a fucking employee. And I've talked to him a couple days. He's a cool guy. Why did you say ew?
I don't want you sweating your wrist.
I'm not sweaty. It was fine. It felt cool.
Put it in your pocket. What are you doing putting a wristband on your arm for? Jerry?
Quick accessibility, man. People do that. I get it.
No.
You go to events like this?
It's like me putting on 20 necklaces. It's like, hey, do you have a necklace yet? Ugh.
I feel like people
Here
do that
you go.
too. Why, you assume everyone's like fucking sweaty and shit.
That's my initial guess. Everybody's sweaty.
It's fine.
That's gross.
It's not
Watch
gross.
that shit.
This is beside the point. It's beside the point of my fucking story that isn't even related to necessarily to Taylor Swift. I went to do a bit of a triple feature yesterday.
What?
Because I knew people were going out in droves, and I wanted to get a lower Uber cost that wasn't going to inflate in the evening, so I wanted to go earlier. So I did that. So I went to the theater and I watched the 30th anniversary of Hocus Pocus.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was nice and enjoyable. I liked it a lot. I've seen it. I just
did it poke your hocus? No.
I'm gonna go.
That's pretty good.
Anyway, it was a good time. Then I went to go because
how packed was that theater? 2
old women behind me.
Okay,
that's it.
Were they there when the original Hocus Pocus came out?
I don't know. Apparently, the screen wasn't turning on, so like one of them went to go talk to somebody about it. But then,
of course, you didn't move.
And the only 2 movies that were gonna work, there were 2 movies that were gonna work for me to see in between Hocus Pocus and Taylor Swift concert.
Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Not playing anymore. I was gonna go see The Exorcist Believer in Dolby this time because I saw it in IMAX, and I was like, I'm gonna watch it again, watching the Dolby because it was gonna end right as Taylor Swift starting. Works. That's cool. Let's do it. I am but one man who got a showing to that, and the following, like the morning before, I get an email that's like, "Hey, sorry, your screening's been removed. Full refund." Or it was an A-list reservation, so it was
because of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, they replaced.
And nobody showed up.
Yeah, and they put Taylor Swift in the Dolby slot, and then I decided to go see The Creator again. It's a good time. I ended up having to leave just before it ended to go catch the movie.
You leave during the best part of the movie?
Yeah, I was like, not even spoil. Alfie was like getting like caught by the fucking like robot arms, and I was like, shit, I guess that's how it ends. I've seen the movie.
Oh, no. Alfie!
Yeah, got like the fucking Gemma Chan's robot copy out, and didn't see where that went. Again, I've seen the movie, but
You didn't miss anything. Nothing happened to the character. They just random.
But then which is funny because I think like my favorite part of the movie is the very end.
I agree.
But then I go and watch the concert, and then it's amazing. I mean, there's like 7 ushers down there waiting at the end during the credits to like clean out because it was a packed, sold out IMAX, and I was like, "Fuck, man, that sucks."
Were you singing and dancing? Were you one of those people?
I was tapping my foot. I was bobbing my head.
Good.
I was, there was a lot of people. Whenever somebody was going to get up and dance, they got to like the end of the aisle, very respectful, not being in anybody's way. There was like the lady that was sitting like right in front of me, who wanted to like get up and dance stuff. She got up and like went behind me because there's a big space like behind me because I was in this nice isolated area with my seat separated.
She just got up, started dancing.
Yeah, it was a lot of people were dancing. There's kids. It was a fun time. It felt like a concert, so I was like, I wasn't mad, and I was expecting this type of audience anyway, so I wasn't mad. It was a good time. But then I see one of my old coworkers who was down at the end. I went to go chat with him, and I was telling him like it's crazy. I was supposed to go see Exorcist, so they kicked me, and he was like, "Oh my god, we saw that one person had reserved that, and we were like, they'll be fine." And they're like, "It's crazy, it was you," and I was like, "I know, give me a pass, damn it!" No,
and I already seen it.
I said that too. But yeah,
the box office ain't not looking too good for Exorcist. It tanked this weekend.
It's a bummer. They've moved every showing to like the smallest auditorium. It's atrocious, by the way. In my theater's smallest auditoriums, they're like 4 rows with like max of like a 6-seat width.
Yeah, it's like 4x6. Yeah,
not great.
That happens at my other I don't go to AMC a lot, obviously, but the small AMC theaters are not great. It's like you can tell it's a very small. Or it's just like 4x6. You're forced to be close to other people if it does get crowded. But yeah, I'm glad you had fun at the concert, Nathan. You're one of the Swifties. That's what they say. That's what the kids say.
New fan now. Fun time, non-refundable ticket. That's a true fact. Didn't play my favorite song, but that's fine.
Which is
Wildest Dreams.
I love that song.
Don't bullshit me.
Yeah, I couldn't even fake it. I couldn't even try.
But like that was probably your most convincing performance yet. And I was just like, I know you. I can't trust it. It was like a false promise. Like it was the fucking the Palpatine projection of Rebels the Emperor used on Ezra.
Young boy.
Come here, my boy.
So good. That was Sam Witwer, right? Or was that Witwer, or was that the
It was probably Witwer at that point, right? Yeah. I don't think they got McDiarmid for the end of Rebels. They did for like the first episode of Rebels, I think, in the first season. They replaced Witwer with McDiarmid, but then every other time after that, I think they just stuck with Witwer.
Because I remember there was at one point where McDiarmid was going back into the studio. We're like, he's going back, like he's doing something, and like this is pre-Rise of Skywalker, of course. We were just like, is he going to be in Rogue One? Is he going to be in what's happening here? And it was just for Rebels. Now
we're in an era where it's like, yeah, he's an Obi-Wan as well. Check it out.
He's everywhere. Yeah,
because all they need is a blue screen and a robe.
Yeah, just calling Vader an idiot for 2 minutes.
They probably have like a synthetic mask ready to just put on, ready to go.
Yeah, good shit. But yeah, we end the podcast here talking about the troubling nature.
Did we finish the box office talk about?
I did. I mean, there wasn't much there.
Okay.
I was just it was just me posturing. I'm like, what if Captain Marvel doesn't do well?
Okay.
Does that change anything? It'll go with the internet's narrative that MCU is falling, but is it really? You got 4 movies coming out, or what is coming out next year for them? I think Deadpool is delayed. It has to be delayed, but delayed to what? November or whenever SAG rates end. If anything comes out next year, I think it could just be Captain America. Even though I think Captain America has moved behind Deadpool, I think. I forget the schedule.
I thought around to like the July era, 4th of July.
Deadpool was May, Captain America's July, I think.
Didn't Deadpool move to? Wasn't it? It moved from like September of a previous year. This year, I think, to next year.
Yeah, and moved to May.
Okay.
I swear it has a summer time slot, or maybe Captain America's May. One of them. Well, both of them are slated for the summer, but I think if the SAG strike continues until like November or December, then and no MCU movie next year. Oh no. I know, right? What will we do? What will I wear?
Thank you. That will be a December commentary for sure.
Jalen and I say that all the time. All the time.
So many quotes from that movie.
So many. Ron Howard's best?
I haven't seen Apollo 13.
Me neither.
Or
Commentary!
Yeah.
Me neither.
Or In the Heart of the Sea, which I own.
Me neither.
I saw some of it. I started watching it, and then my nephew was like, "Can we skip to the whale scenes?" I was like, "No, I'm here for the narrative."
He just walks away.
It's a good cast, though. I was like
Holland and the Thor guy, right?
Hemsworth.
Yeah.
The Thor Hemsworth. There's like 4 of them, right?
Yeah.
They're like Skarsgård. There's everywhere.
Yeah, Skarsgård. That's a good family. Anyways, Nathan, this is very, very interesting to me. Because we've been talking about the troubling nature of the Marvel television shows since I forget, but like WandaVision came out, and people had fun with it. It was a solid show. But then we got more, and we sensed a pattern. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier was the first one where like they really wanted to make a movie, but they made a TV show instead.
You were. I was cool.
I mean, I could feel like this wasn't television, right? Like, I think even the people that love these shows have to realize this isn't like a television show. They try to make a limited series, but they're making it into a television show, or they're making a television show into a limited series. Like, they're not balancing it well. They experimented. They tried doing these 6 to 8 episode event shows. They want to make them an event television by minimizing it to 6 weeks, moving on to the next show. And I don't think they fully grasped what television really was.
I kind of understand them doing that from a certain angle, in the fact of like movie theater underperforming pandemic era. It was, it was a big positive in that regard, because they were obviously thriving in numbers at the time. Then it was working in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then we kept going, and we kept doing shorter. That's why I remember it was such like a big uproar of enthusiasm when they announced Daredevil Born Again would have 18 episodes. Everyone was like, "Thank God, we're back." News.
Yeah, I'm looking at my phone. Big Brother feed came back. I'm like, oh shit. Anyways, so you're right. I agree with you. Where it kind of made sense at a point. But for me as a viewer, I could never really grasp why these shows, Hawkeye, 6 episodes, Miss Marvel, 6 episodes, Loki, 6 episodes, like Falcon Winter Soldier, 6 episodes. It got draining where it felt mandated. Yes, there have been successful 6 to 8 episode shows. Like, I just finished watching Castlevania Nocturnes, one of my favorite shows of the year. 8 episodes, 23 minutes. It's an anime. But they filled it with such great depth that these shows aren't, because they, mapped it out what you're going to do from beginning to end. What else? The Bear, season 1. I think that's just 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Because they mapped it out where they want to go for these characters, for the arcs. Come to realize, and I think as a viewer, you can also kind of realize it beforehand, but in this article from THR, they talk about how a lot of these shows aren't mapped out from beginning to end in terms of like where the eventual arc of the series or season is going to be. People coming onto set with scripts not finished yet. And before I would say this, before I go on, I mean, that isn't necessarily always a bad thing. I always talk about this. Like, I hated the sequel trilogy arguments where it's like, it's not mapped out. That's why it was so bad. No, it doesn't matter. Mission Impossible is notorious for Tom Cruise, McHugh, Christopher McQuarrie coming into set and just figuring it out as they go along, and that's worked great for movies 4, 5, 6, and 7 now. Also, some of the classic MCU movies, Iron Man, notoriously, right? Like we all know the Iron Man stories, like Jon Favreau and them unfinished scripts. They fixed it as they went along. That's why there's a tons of what's classic now, improv. There's a lot of that there because the scripts were unfinished, but ironically, that set the tone for Kevin Feige to be like, if it works for Iron Man 1, we can do it for a lot of other movies. Not to say that every MCU movie was like Iron Man or they're unfinished, but it gave Feige some, leeway where other movies, some movies could do that. And of course, the results may vary as always. But anyways, THR has released an article about how Daredevil is the first of many shows, not the first, but just one of many shows that's getting completely revamped because of a lot of the behind-the-scenes issues that have been happening with Marvel Television. They go to cite some instances prior to Daredevil's revamping, where the latest show, Secret Invasion, which cost upwards of $200 million, was hit with a lot of difficulties. People walking out on set, people having difficulty with the scripts, and not knowing how the season was going to end when they started shooting. And it gets worse because, like, if this happened with a normal TV show, okay, but this is a $200 million TV show. And if you're making it, right?
$200 million for a show.
$200 million for a show. And
that sounds, I mean, I don't know. Are shows usually more expensive than film? I mean, I guess there's like a lot more to make, but
it depends, right? Yeah, like these days, everybody wants their event television, so they're getting higher. Like a Rings of Power, a Game of Thrones, Westworld. Those are all like those event TV shows are starting to cost more, especially the sci-fi ones. Because ever since Lost, people want their sci-fi shit. Yeah. But great question though, because that goes right along with the notion that these people wanted it to be 6-part movies. Movies cost upwards of $200 million. Captain Marvel's coming out later this year, costs about $253. Taking away tax rebates and stuff, now it's like $213 or $220. It's a little bit below that, but it's in the 200 range, of course, which is par for the course for modern day Marvel movies, even Pixar movies, right? Like, Elemental came out, $200 million price tag. But now those movies are getting split into 6 parts in terms of Marvel Television. So when they have low critical reception, low difficulty being made, and behind the scenes issues in terms of writing, it's causing people to make a pause and change things. We've heard Iger talk about, like, maybe I did fuck up and make too many shows. People like to blame Chapek, but yeah, a lot of those things were under Iger before Chapek. Like, Iger started it. Chapek was the one who was supposed to like streamline it. And then Iger came back to be like, maybe we fucked up. Maybe we should go back. Because Chapek isn't the one saying we're doing all these shows, right? Like, that was beforehand. That was like in 2019 era when Iger was still there a little bit, ending his reign. Anyways.
Announced Toy Story 5 when he came back.
What?
Iger announced Toy Story 5 when he came back.
Right? And he came back instantly. He was like, let's go back to the gold mine, the sequels, which is neither here nor there. That's a different discussion. Yeah. So while Daredevil is the first show getting revamped, it didn't start with Daredevil. There has been, as the article mentions, a lot of difficulties. So let's go into it some more because those are all paraphrased. But yeah, Daredevil revamp is the latest in a series of growing pains for Marvel. Since debuting in 2021 with WandaVision, it's been more than 50 hours of Marvel Television across Disney Plus. 150 million plus seasons of TV are being made on the fly. And as Marvel does for its movies, they rely on a lot of the post-production and reshoots to finally fix what's been going on. Which, again, it's not great, but it's not a terrible practice, relying on post-production and reshoots, because obviously with MCU, it has worked for the most part. It's just, when it doesn't work, people like to point that out a lot, which is par for the course for anything, really. But yeah, so there's been a lot of creative challenges and issues. So people like the head of Marvel streaming television, Brad Winderbaum, says we were trying to marry the Marvel culture with the traditional television culture. How can we tell stories in television that honor what's so great about the source material? And I don't think they really nailed that vibe. I don't think they really understood the traditional TV culture. So I think for me, at least, a lot of the MCU movies or shows, outside of Loki and Miss Marvel and WandaVision here or there, but I think for me, and I always said this for every single Disney Plus show in general, not just Marvel, but Star Wars as well, heard from this, where what do you gain from a single episode? And I said this about Ahsoka recently too, where it's like certain episodes of Ahsoka or Mandalorian, a TV show should have a certain theme to it. An episode, at least, should have a certain theme to it, a growing arc or a subject, right? A lot of these things deal with. There's a longer conversation to be had here, but I think a lot of these shows deal with simplicity. They're too simple, and then they also want to leave the last couple of minutes with a lingering effect of like what could happen next, when that's not really necessary for a lot of television. Where it's like, what could happen next week? See you next week. Or it's like they're not really fulfilling the time span of each episode to its utmost, to the best of its ability, at least. We're not getting the most out of the characters out of a single episode. We're just getting a certain part, and they're going to tease us for the next week's episode, which again goes into like the six-part movie of it all, where you're just constantly teasing us instead of delivering good quality episodes week to week. So yeah, going deeper into the Daredevil of it all, they talk about here how this was a project that had sky high expectations, and it was built upon the successful series of Netflix running 3 seasons. But sources say that Corman and Ord, the showrunners for Daredevil, at least the Disney Plus Daredevil, crafted a legal procedural that did not resemble the Netflix version for its action and violence. Cox didn't even show up in costume until the 4th episode. Marvel, after greenlighting the concept, found itself needing to rethink the original intention of the show. I want to pause right there because people were complaining about the whole costuming of it all. What were your opinions about that initially?
Well, hearing that off the bat, I heard the news. This isn't my first time, but there's, I don't know, it feels like a double-edged sword in a way. I mean,
I agree.
It's like, I'm not mad at the idea of a Daredevil procedural. Some of my best, favorite moments are when Matt is going off in a court case. It's great. I do think in the era that we live in that if Matt doesn't get the costumes till, like, say, end of episode 3, they probably would have ended up doing a 3-episode drop because they don't feel secure about trusting the audience.
I can totally see that happening. Yeah.
But also, when you think back to the Netflix series, it wasn't just, you weren't only compelled during Daredevil scenes. Some of arguably the best scenes of the Daredevil show are Matt out of costume handling his dynamics with Foggy and Karen, which is another big point in the story to talk about. But I don't know. I mean, I think that the idea of it being a court procedural is not the worst idea. I think if you had like a big old overarching thing of like the trial of the Kingpin or something, like where Matt's handling shit outside the law as Daredevil, but then is trying to crack the case within the law, in the procedural stuff as himself, would have been a fun, dual life superhero classic tale.
I completely agree with you, Nathan. When I initially heard it, I'm like, oh, it's a shocking thing to hear just on sentence alone. Mm-hmm. But think about it more when you realize it was supposed to be like what, 16 episode season, right? Were they still
18.
Doing that? What?
18.
There were some rumors where it's like they might split it between do 9 and 9 for season 1, season 2. Those were never confirmed or denied or whatever. Those were just rumors. But either way, if it was going to be 9, if it was going to be 18, whatever, Well, 9 would have been bad if this was the case. But either way, I completely agree with you, Nathan. I think doing that legal procedural way could have been interesting. Let them cook. Let's see how it goes. There's so many people going online being like, "Whoa, well, I'm glad that got scrapped. Holy shit!" But which is ridiculous, right? It goes back to just our culture online, where it's like you hear one thing, you're like, "Oh, that explains it." Okay, cool. We dodged a bullet then. It's the same thing with Batwoman, right? Where it's like, oh, apparently those test screenings were terrible. Oh, we dodged a bullet then. They saved us. We don't want a bad product. You didn't even watch it. What are you talking about?
You don't know.
You don't know this shit. That's why it's art. You got to watch it, then deliver your opinion. That's how we view things. You just don't take content on sentence, on pitch, on tweet alone. So it was mind-boggling hearing this and looking at the comments being like, whew, man, did we dodge a bullet? Because not showing up in costume to episode 4, I want to see Matt kick ass. You stop telling on yourself. Stop telling on yourself. Because it's like, you're right. I honestly, I think Daredevil is one of the best, not even TV show, or not even Marvel shows, but TV shows I've seen in recent memory. It's a great show. I can't even name a fantastic Matt costuming scene besides like the cliche like hallway scene, the stairwell scene. Yeah, like
the I beat you scene in season 3 is great.
The I beat you scene, which is less so of him just like in costume beating somebody up, but it's just him and Fisk just yelling at each other. Yeah. That's what makes it so great. It's not him beating Fisk up. It's just him. They're just yelling at each other, which is so great. But it's just like Matt in costume is great. I like it. But season 1 of Daredevil wasn't bad because he wasn't in his red costume for most of the season. He was wearing a black T-shirt for 12 episodes. Did anybody care? No, we didn't care.
And it's never really like the most compelling stuff is like even when he is in the costume, it ain't about the costume, it ain't about like his symbol or anything.
No,
I mean, if I think the one example I think which is really compelling one is like in season 2 when Punisher has him chained up against the chimney, and he's like, it's like, all right, either you kill him or I'm gonna kill him, and either way, like your way doesn't work. He's just gonna fucking break out again. It's like the fucking Batman Joker argument, but like, you know, these scum ain't gonna fucking learn. We got to take them out. You know, and then Matt being a Christian man thinking of the themes of change is really compelling. Just their discussions back and forth are so good. I think he even does take off Matt's mask at one point.
Yep.
And then it's just like it's fucking gloves are off, literally.
What was that season 2 episode like 2 and 3? I think 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's like the first 4 episodes. There were like 3 arcs in season 2 for like the 4.
Man. People are like, oh, then season 2 dropped off. Fuck off! I still like season 2.
It's really compelling. Even at its lowest, Daredevil is compelling as fuck.
I like the Elektra stuff. I liked it.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. Yeah, it was like even though they say like he won't be in costume, like they still would have probably had him kicking ass.
Yeah.
In some way or fashion.
Even if like he's like without a suit, he's still gonna like do tricky Matt shit.
Yeah. It's not him just walking and talking. It could have been. In either way, I still would have been compelled. Maybe, right? Like, I don't know. But either way, the show's being scrapped. Everybody's directors and writers are all being apparently fired and restructured. You know, before we get into more of that, like there was another rumor. Now, this one is different. So, like the legal stuff, Matt not being in a costume, I don't mind. Theoretically, at least. Theoretically. Because we don't know. But there's another rumor, and on the same vein, going into what season 4 could have been about. Let me see here. Not even season 4, whatever they want to call this show, season 1. Daredevil Born Again, season 1. Yeah. What if showing Matt Murdock stop being Daredevil for a year after he fails to save Foggy Nelson and Karen Page? Kingpin would be the mayor winning on the election or winning on a campaign of backing law enforcement while discouraging street level heroes such as Punisher, who is going to be in the show, was at least Daredevil and Spider-Man.
Whoa.
Yeah, whatever.
Spider-Man, which I want to see, but
we'll see. This is different.
The main point is our chums.
Yeah. You're right. The second half about Kingpin being mayor and that stuff kind of. They'll probably keep that, right? Like it kind of makes sense given what we saw of him in Hawkeye, and Echo presumably. But yeah, Foggy Nelson and Karen Page getting killed is what a lot of people feared when they weren't in the set photos, and people were like, "Where the hell are they?" And people weren't reporting on them at all. And then it was reported that they weren't going to be in it, but then they might be in it. It was going back and forth, but nobody really knew. But apparently, again, nobody knows for sure. But this whole idea that Foggy Nelson and Karen died off screen, maybe off screen, they might have shown it, whatever. Mm-hmm. Either way, for me at least, having not watched it, my take would have been dumb. It would have been dumb to do a show without Karen and Foggy, just destroying the trio and doing a new revamp completely, born again. I don't need it.
Didn't we do this with him and Elektra already?
Right? Yeah, where you lost Elektra, and
even like getting her back during the Defenders arc, she still had to be lost again. And it was like that learning of acceptance to move on.
What eventually happened to Elektra? Did she die?
I think she died in Defenders. I think she was brought back for because she's like the weapon of the hand.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Black Sky stuff.
Yeah. There's like some secret stuff under some construction. Defenders was weird, wasn't it?
Was it? I think they were gonna unleash a dragon, and they had to demolish the building to bury it. Right? That's how it ended.
Oh boy,
something like that.
Not great.
I had a good time with Defender, but it's mainly because of the team dynamic, right?
Yeah, the little bit that we got of the team dynamic.
They got some Chinese food in the middle of the season. It's all good.
We got to have our shawarma moment, guys.
Spoiler alert! I remember Styx dies too in Defenders.
Does he?
He dies in Defenders, yeah. So that's why I was like hounding Carson whenever he was going to watch Daredevil. I was like, you gotta fucking watch that to know what the fuck happens to Styx. Like,
Styx is the goat, man.
He's something.
He's not a great guy.
He's not great, Bob.
No, but
he's like the anti-Uncle Iroh, if anything.
Yeah, anti-Uncle Iroh. So yeah, that doesn't sound great to me. It's a classic TV thing of like, we have something good here, but we want to do it on our own terms. So let's revamp it completely by killing off two characters that were synonymous with the other version of the show. I just think it's unnecessary.
It's like raising the stakes for shock value for viewership, right?
I guess, but a lot of people probably, it's hard. They gotta find a balance about people who watch the show and people who are coming in fresh, who just have a Disney Plus subscription and want to watch a Daredevil show.
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, Daredevil's on Disney Plus now, actually. So I don't know.
It is. They all are. In their full mature glory. But also, it's weird just going off of where season 3 ends with like the Nelson, Murdoch, and Page of it all. They're all coming to work together in the law division, and you think it's like a brighter tomorrow moving forward. And to go for the very next property with him, canonically within his story, to just be, they're gone now. After having fun with She-Hulk, and then like boom, tragedy. It's odd. It's very odd. I don't know how one necessarily gets to that conclusion. I mean, have your set story arc, but like when you're coming off of an existing story and following a through line, that's not that large of a gap of time, mind you. It's not like 30 years where we're like, comparing original sequel trilogy with Star Wars. This is like within 10 years.
Exactly. It's really bewildering that they would even try that. Because this, as you mentioned in the article, this is one of the most anticipated Disney Plus shows, just because the fan appeal that has been going on ever since the Netflix deal ended. People are like, we want this show back more than anything. And for people like Feige, who usually understands fan expectations, to want to completely revamp it is just very odd. Again, if it's true, you never really know, but it seems likely only because where the hell were they during filming, right?
Yeah.
So that would have been disappointing. But on the overall side of it all, the article is it's a very fascinating. I would recommend people look this up. It's just a very fascinating thing because people have been talking about the issues of Marvel television. There's a great quote here where he says, somebody says it, TV is a writer-driven medium. Fans of TV know this, right? Breaking Bad is Vince Gilligan. It's not a director. This is different from movies, right? Like when people think of movies, they think of like Christopher Nolan, the directors. Writers are also very important for movies. We all know that, but like directors, usually the face of movies.
Yeah.
For television, it's different. Writers are the showrunners. Tony Gilroy helped write episodes of Andor. Not all of them, or whatever. It depends on the TV show.
Yeah.
But like Tony Gilroy, Vince Gilligan, like these are famous writers who are the showrunners, and they help drive the story of the show. Nathan writes Time Blazer. If
I directed too.
if Nathan was to get different directors, he would still be the face of the show because he helped write it. Like, for example, Rian Johnson isn't the face of Breaking Bad, even though he directed Ozymandias in a couple episodes. Like, Ryan always talked about, like, I directed Ozymandias, but I had no control over what happened in the episode. The episode was the episode. I didn't decide that Skylar's going to go out in the street yelling "Wall" to get back here, right? Like,
even
that was all in the show. It was written as it was supposed to be. So
even
TV
with
is a writer-driven medium.
Even for that example for Ozymandias, like even with like your idea of like setting up shots and getting specific deciding on what takes from actors to use and stuff like that, you still have to emulate the style and the look of the show that's consistent throughout. Like
exactly
as amazing as like the style Ryan brings to it, you know, it's still matching the overarching look and feel of the entirety of the series.
Completely, which is why I would have a regular TV person thinks streaming director for all the episodes because they look and visually the same, right? Unless you get something weird. Like, for example, I think of Mandalorian season 1, right? The finale is clearly a Taika project. You can just tell, given the dialogue, the way it works there. It's like it feels very Taika-y. But that's like in rare cases. But yeah, most parts, like, you can't really tell, which is good because it's a TV show. It's supposed to like look visually the same unless for some creative reason. But the thing is, for Marvel, they say here, TV is writer-driven. Marvel is Marvel-driven, which isn't a good thing a lot of the time, at least, because writers aren't getting the full say. They say on the Oscar Isaac star Moon Knight, show creator and writer Jeremy Slater quit, and director Mohamed Diab took the reins. Jessica Gao developed and wrote She-Hulk, but was sidelined once Kat Coiro came on board, the director. The production was challenging for a number of these shows. Typical showrunner duties aren't the norm for Marvel, they're saying, basically. They say it's the rare Marvel head writer never mind. Yeah. So they said, what's it called? Jessica Gao was the rare Marvel head writer who had oversight a little bit on She-Hulk. But usually it isn't the case. Usually, like, it's a bit more messy and more mixed. So let me see here. So yeah, they say a lot of it were people trained in the Marvel method. People in charge of shows were trained in the Marvel method, not really in terms of like a TV writers first approach. The company, they say the company does not have a writers first approach to TV. Directors could feel shortchanged as well, which is why there's a lot of directors mixed up in a variety of these shows, like Secret Invasion, like Moon Knight, like She-Hulk. Let's see here. Yeah, they say somebody had been working on a script for Secret Invasion for over a year when he was eventually replaced after Marvel decided on a different direction. New writers brought on board. They were then changed too, and it was just constantly changed even during filming. Secret Invasion was weeks of people not getting along, people erupting into arguments, debilitating production all across 2022 for Secret Invasion. The article goes deeper into more stuff like that. But yeah, I think in general, they say here, even at the bottom of the article, they say they need executives who are dedicated to the medium of TV as a whole, focus on television as a whole instead of focusing on the streaming aspect, because there are two different forms there. So yeah, the article goes into deeper stuff about what's been going on behind the scenes specifically. But I think for me at least, it's just interesting because Marvel needs to find that balance between creating television shows in limited series. I think there's another article came out afterwards where it said Marvel wants to pursue multi-season television instead of the limited series events that have been plaguing this Disney Plus recently, or since its inception. Which I think is a good choice. I don't think every show needs to be multi-season. Of course, I'm a favor of shows like Loki. But a show like WandaVision was created for the purpose of WandaVision. It's impossible to do that more than one season. Same thing for Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like in terms of those titles, like Falcon and Winter Soldier, that can only be a one-season show because now he's Captain America, right?
It is funny when you do look at them because with WandaVision, like we already like went through the eras to the present day and went through that arc of a journey, which then led into the villain arc for Multiverse of Madness. But like already we moved back to the big screen with Wanda's journey. Falcon Winter Soldier, he's Captain America now. He belongs on the big screen, right? These big adventures, these blockbuster epics, to be told within those self-contained stories, which again, Marvel is proven that they can do, and they've done it, built their legacy on them. Like in regards to Captain America, you have 3 great films with him, all within under 3-hour time frame, telling these emotionally impactful stories. You don't need a full 6 hours to do that.
Bingo. Yeah. Which I think goes into why these things were so short. They felt like they didn't need to go deeper into it. But again, it goes into, but now you're dealing with television. So I think you need to go deeper. And if your characters, while we know, for example, Winter Soldier from the movies, while we know Falcon from the movies, we still want an interesting and fascinating arc for them within the TV show. And if you fail there, it doesn't matter what they do outside of that. Like, come on. Like, I don't think the arcs for them weren't as fulfilling as what we got even in the movies. Because I think in terms of the 6-episode run they had alone, the arc was very minimal, and the TV shows in general wasn't very fulfilling, at least for me. So I think they really need to focus on, even though they're on the streaming service, just create compelling TV shows that are getting the best per hour or however long your episodes are. Give us a good narrative first and foremost. And if they do want to go down these multi-season shows instead of doing the limited series events, that's good. But again, I don't think that was a complete issue. I don't think the issue was just limited series versus multi-season. You can do a good limited series.
Yeah.
You can do a good multi-season show. The problem for Marvel was they were trying to do both and combining those. For example, Loki was a good part of it, so it's kind of hard to say Loki. But like a show like Miss Marvel, I think they went in thinking this could be a limited series, but it can spin off too. For Hawkeye, right? This could be a good limited series, but it could also spin off too if you want to do a season 2 with just Kate. Like they were trying to do these limited series that either setting up a movie or just setting up something for a certain character, getting, like Kevin Feige classically said, like, I want to do a show on characters that didn't get enough time to shine in the movies. That was the appeal of these certain shows, right?
Which is a cool pitch.
Cool. Great pitch. Still make it, like, still give time for those characters to then shine on their shows. Because that's a good pitch. But if the story is not written well, then that's a waste, right?
It's
So yeah, it's hard to explain.
It's interesting. There's a number of them that I feel have a good. I mean, I haven't like hated any of them.
No, I haven't hated any. Secret Invasion was they're just very, very bland or mediocre at the very least. None of them are super like awful. Secret Invasion gets close to it, but that's about it.
Yeah, I do think Miss Marvel is one of those cases that I think is very compelling for an idea of multi-season, because it's not just exclusively like a superhero story. It's very much a coming of age story.
Young adult, yeah.
And there's so much, and Kamala's still young enough that you have so much time to tell. And even if it's a similar thing with Spider-Man, right? It's like, you're telling the story of this person who's trying to balance the school life and the hero life, and that can go all the way to college age, which I think we're about to do with Peter right now anyway. And granted, that's him in the movies, but Miss Marvel has enough. We've praised it a lot with season 1 how they spent a lot of time with Kamala and her friends and building those dynamics and the like lived in feeling of being high schoolers. Something like Moon Knight, I really like the idea of doing a multi-season because there's so much to explore with like the realm of like the Marvel gods and stuff like that. And I think it's pretty compelling in the realm of being an uncovering mystery story. But I think other Marvel properties tend to falter in. I feel like a lot of them, like whether it is WandaVision, Falcon Soldier, or even Hawkeye, like a lot of them have like a stringing through line of like, we're doing hero stuff, but like there's like this great mystery going on. We're trying to uncover it, and it's like, oh, it was this big surprise reveal at the end. It was me all along, you meddling kids. Like,
yeah.
Like they keep doing that, and I'm like, I need you to stop doing that. That's why I found Miss Marvel to be so refreshing. Is like it really wasn't that like our antagonist was at the forefront. It was primarily Kamala's journey we're following. That's like the big appeal here.
Exactly. Even then, as a fan of Miss Marvel, even then the antagonist side was a little bit shortchanged as well, where like her evil not grandmother, but just like that evil family woman who was manipulating her son or whatever.
Yeah.
That was one of the weaker points of the show. But yeah, like I think antagonists in general, you're right, Nathan. I forgot all about that. That was kind of like the central issue we had there. It was like a lot of these shows were clouded in mystery for no reason.
Yeah. I guess
you
you could probably dub it like the Mephisto effect, right? Like not necessarily saying like it is Mephisto behind it, but like that there is someone pulling the strings.
I think they saw that it kind of worked for WandaVision, but it kind of didn't as well. It's like that was one of the main issues for WandaVision, where it's like it works in some cases, but then there's only so much theory chasing you can get in a single episode instead of just telling a interesting narrative. Like the mystery of it all is fascinating, but like we also want to be sold on each hour of television, right? Like for Lost, like the mystery of like who's on the island, that kind of stuff. It's interesting, but we care about the characters on the island. So yeah, so you're right. That whole mystery stuff was prevalent in a lot of those early shows. Even Loki was more witness to that. Season 1 was like, who's in charge of the TVA? Luckily, Loki was one of the better written shows, so we had characters that we fell in love with, and it didn't really plague it too much. Besides the finale, which had its fair criticisms there, but I liked it. But
and then we have the Power Broker. It's like, why
Power Broker, and then the finale of what was the finale of WandaVision even? Oh, the SWAT guy.
Well, it's yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. Primarily, the focus is like on Agatha.
It was there we go. It was Agatha all along.
Yeah, which is cool in that word, and it's their first iteration of doing stuff like that. But if you go to like watch it back again, they do like a big presentation of just like, hey, Evan Peters is here as Quicksilver, but not really.
Yeah, I was like, okay, why? And then Power Broker was a useless twist, just bad.
And there is little to no functionality in Kingpin and Hawkeye, really. I guess it's a stepping stone to the Echo series, but
yeah, again, it was all that mystery, like who is her mother working for? It's Kingpin.
It's like, okay, it's been her.
Just been her.
Maybe more so.
Maybe more so. We could have actually had a conversation between her and the mom, but it was just like the mom gets talking to, and then she gets arrested, and the end of episode 6. Bye. It's like
Remember in the middle of a Hawkeye, which Yelena is in the series. I just remembered. Remember how
Right.
we were pitching the idea of like, oh, what if Yelena joins him for Christmas dinner? Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful? You don't get shit like that.
No, because again, like we always say, the episodes don't linger. They have to end. So they just end. Other shows would have took the time to do something like that, something character rich and relevant. But no, the show just ends because it's 6 episodes. They gotta close it up.
Yeah.
See you next time, Kate Bishop. Where's Kate at, by the way?
And
I
it's
love Kate.
and then it's funny on the flip side with like I'm one of the people who quite enjoys the She-Hulk series. And I like the stuff they did with Matt. And then they do a thing where like, hey, Matt's also here having dinner with the Hulks and stuff, and it's like, motherfucker ain't gonna be in Captain America 4, I'll tell you that. He ain't gonna be in. I don't think he's gonna be in season 2 of She-Hulk, frankly.
You mean Daredevil or the Hawk kid?
Daredevil. I think they're gonna set up a fucking World War Hulk story. I think they want to do more Hulk stuff with the rights issues getting less.
You would think.
Well, we'll see, because there's so much Hulk elements in Captain America 4, right? Like they're gonna probably do Red Hulk stuff and the leader's back, and
yeah. Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see.
That whole Hulk reveal in She-Hulk was so stupid. Hulk's son, Chad, right?
It was like the literal last minute, right?
What the fuck was that?
I don't know. That's the whole thing. Like Bruce left the season to, I guess, go.
That's been Marvel Phase 4 in general, where there's like a lot of last minute stuff where it's just teasing, hey, here's Kronos, the end of Eternals, whatever his name is, the one singer is playing him. Remember at the end of Eternals, the post-credit scene, the guy with red hair.
Oh, right. That's Patton Oswalt.
No, that's not Patton Oswalt. The guy from Denver.
Harry Styles, you're right.
Harry Styles, there we go.
I was blanking. Fucking Star Fox.
Star Fox, yeah.
Brother of Thanos, somehow.
Yeah. So Star Fox was teased. Thor 4, you got Hercules being teased. And then they tease a lot of different stuff in Phase 4. And it kind of petered over into the TV shows where things are being teased. But they just don't work as TV shows. Whether you're doing a multi-season show or you want to do a limited series, that's fine. But just make it a good limited series. Hire people that made good limited series. Like just a good season of TV. For example, True Detective Season 1, built as a one-season television show. Great. Iconic. No teases for next time. There's no short change of characters. There's a great season. It was 12 episodes. They need to start doing 12. Even if they want to do a limited series, make them 12. Or make them as long as they need to be. They don't need to be 6, or they don't need to be 6. They don't need to be 12. Make it as long as the narrative needs to be. But the problem is the scripts aren't finished, so they don't know how long they need to be. So they just go with the 6 mandated episodes, and they try and fit it into that. They don't write it out. They don't plan it ahead of time. And again, not everything needs to be planned, but you got to know how what your narrative begins and ends with, at least.
Yeah, if you don't, because I'm doing that with Time Blazer, right? I set a certain number of episodes to make sure I have the full arcs going through. I don't, and all the different seasons I have planned are all of varying degrees of episodic number, and that can change as the story gets to develop more.
Exactly.
Like for season 1, it was originally 6 episodes. I decided it to be 7 because I feel like we needed to not rush things as much. And that's the thing, you fall into studio mandates with a certain number of an order for seasons, which is funny because I remember most networks would normally order like 22 episodes back in the day, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to like event series like we're doing here, it's like either you're going to have to stretch some stuff out to make those number of episodes, or you have too much to tell at one time and you don't have a guarantee of a next season, so you have to like cram it all together and some things get rushed.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You bring it back to what TV channels and classic networks were doing back in the day. The 24-episode thing was good because people figured, hey, audiences, families, they want a reason to stick around for their shows. So we're going to do a fall arc and we're going to do a spring arc. 12 episodes in the fall from August to December. 12 episodes in the spring from January to April. Summer break. See you next fall. That's how it usually is.
Yeah, some have a good tail in terms of working in that functionality. Like an example, show Lucifer. I really love show Lucifer. It's mostly a detective show. But there's
Procedural.
but there's biblical figures in it, like the lead character is Satan. He's the devil. And there'll be overarching like arcs with characters that are going to go clearly from A to B through the season, but before we reach those full events we tend to have like a quote like adventure of the week type deal, like case of the week. But it's through those cases we start to build and evolve the characters, and you get familiar with them as the stories begin to evolve. So when like a big shit goes down, you're just as affected as characters are because you spend so much time with them.
Exactly. It's not straight procedural. And I think Doctor Who does that. Star Trek does that, where it's like you get your case of the week, your adventure of the week, but the adventure of the week builds into like serial stuff in the background. And not so much as like teases as the Marvel limited TV shows have been doing so far. They're teasing things, leaving things purposely a mystery for no reason, just to do a big bang in the finale, and then you're over.
Yeah, because like, again, they're like a detective process where it's like, you know, a big overarching mystery. Like, what is this thing? And like the next episode, we've uncovered another clue that's going to lead us to the next thing. And the next episode, like, oh, it's leading to this group. And it's like, oh, it's leading to this group that's being housed by this mysterious figure. And oh, this is the mysterious figure. Now we must take him down in 30 minutes.
In 30 minutes, now the show's over. And you're just like, or you can spend time talking about this lead antagonist or this lead person or anything really. Whether it's evil, good.
Biggest problem we had when watching every season of The Mandalorian is like, who's Gideon? Why do I give a shit about him?
Right? They tease so much with the character instead of just giving us an episode about the character, right? Like Breaking Bad. I always talk about this. Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. Whatever Saul is doing in an episode, right? Saul and Kim can be harassing whoever. But then half the other part of the episode is Mike and Gus doing some criminal stuff as well. You can have all of that in the span of 45 minutes.
I loved watching Better Call Saul because while I'm in love with Jimmy and Kim, they would cut over to what's his name? Scorpion. Nacho, yeah. And I didn't think I would be so compelled, but like then he's hiding in a fucking oil drum, and I'm like, fuck, is he gonna catch him? Like,
it's great. You can do all that in a single episode. But for a lot of these Disney Plus shows, they're very hero-centric. They want to focus on certain characters. Like, if a show is called Mandalorian, we only need to show the Mandalorian. They don't want to spend time showcasing what's going on with the Emperor or, you know, the bad guy. Or like it even happened with like Ahsoka, right? We got shows time of Ahsoka and Sabine. Every scene cuts to an Ahsoka or Sabine scene. A little bit of Thrawn stuff to set up what's going to happen to the heroes, instead of just showcasing like, hey, what's Thrawn doing in this scene, or what's Baylan and Shin doing in this scene? Well, save that for season 2, or just show us right now, right? Like, why wait? So it's just. It's weird.
Even when I think to like Mando season 3, like the bare minimum, we don't have much explore with Gideon, but like here's a cool chance to spend some time with him as he's breaking out of containment. Skip.
Cut to him and like getting a radio call from somebody in Coruscant, and he's already out.
I have a fully made clone army now. That was very like at a very bare minimum evolution in the last season. I didn't really see the case cracked. We kidnapped the doctor who you know is from Camino.
It's weird. It just, for me at least, the end all be all, it's just originally it was baffling and still is baffling because we're in 2023 now and we're still seeing the same issues that we saw by the end of 2021 whenever WandaVision came out. By the end of that year, we started to see like, hey, these shows are kind of being made the same way. While it worked in Loki, it didn't work really with certain parts of WandaVision or certain parts of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, we were seeing the early strains the first year they tried this out. It's been 3 years now, and Secret Invasion was people's last straw. We were like, okay, this mystery shit, this 6-episode shit is really, it's not great, Bob. It can just, people can tell when a product is poor, and it's starting to drain. And again, they're finally revamping stuff with Daredevil. Whether it's for the better, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm glad they're changing. I'm glad they're starting to realize that change needs to happen, at least, that they need to hire people with more expertise in the TV structure of it all, instead of just, they got to get out of their own heads. They're really, like the article says, they're very Marvel driven. but it's time for change, right? They just got to change the way they make these Marvel TV shows, and in general, Disney Plus shows in general, in my opinion. But yeah, especially in a time when Iger is taking a step back with Marvel and Star Wars. They're saying they need to take a step back, quality over quantity. Iger likes to say as he cuts away Willow.
Lovely words today from
Warwick Davis.
Like openly calling out, like, what do I tell people? Like, people love the show, and like, what do I tell them when they want to watch it now? What do I do? And I agree, because at this point I want to watch it, Evan. And I need links.
It's such a great show. I have links, but it's such a great show. I don't want to give people like you have to release. You have to find people on the internet to watch it. Like, it's so unfortunate. This is a show that while Marvel and Star Wars can get revamped as they need to and take a break as they need to, Disney Plus cannot prosper on franchises. It just cannot. You cannot raise the price, which they are, of Disney Plus every fucking year. It's ridiculous. It's just getting to the point where I'm like, after Loki ends, I think I'm good. But no, then Echo got delayed now. So like, if Loki's the last thing for the remainder of the year and it's November, I'm out. Like,
I'm starting to think the reason they've done the 6-episode thing is because they're weekly releases. Is like you get 4 episodes in and you're presumably hooked enough, and it's like, all right, time to bill them. They got to see how it ends.
They do 6, so they can structure it where they can do like 3 to 4 a year. If it's 6, it's like 6, 6, 6, 6, right? They can do like 1 per season, really. Fall, winter, summer, spring, whatever. So in general, things need to change. So hopefully it starts with Daredevil and continues from there.
But that does kind of bring to an interesting final topic I wanted to also talk in regards to Marvel. They're potentially looking to do a bit of a soft reboot after Secret Wars.
Yes. Which makes sense. It's what they do in the comic books, right? Secret Wars, revamp, and for all intents and purposes, this will be their way to freshly bring in a new era of Marvel with X-Men and other Fox properties taking the forefront, I would presume, with the new Avengers team as kind of like maybe coinciding or maybe even a background to it, the new Fox characters. You never really know. But I don't think this means that Iron Man's coming back, in my opinion. I don't think you bring back an Iron Man. I don't think you bring back another Thor. We'll still have Spider-Man. Let's just say the characters that are staying. We're still Tom Holland's staying. Falcon probably staying as Captain America. I mean,
I think Doctor Strange is staying.
Doctor Strange staying. Spider-Man staying. Thor maybe, but he's not even that relevant anymore.
It's interesting. I think by the words I was reading in regards to some quotes from Feige and stuff.
And this came, by the way, from the Reign of Marvel Studios book that is coming out soon, right? Or is out.
I think it might have just come out. I think that's why we're getting all these quotes and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
It seems like what their whole idea is, like, I think they do want to bring back certain characters like an Iron Man and a Captain America and stuff like that, because they I think they are, because in regards to the whole start of the MCU, obviously they were adapting storylines. They were fitting, right, like from the very jump, they weren't all wearing the comic accurate, colorful styles of today that they do, because they can do that because they're Marvel and they can do what they want. They were still like functioning into the form of like working with like selling it to an audience at the start, because again, when you go back to the first Iron Man, not a household name, you had to play things a bit safer, and so adapting storylines were kind of not completed. Like in regards to Iron Man 3, a big criticism is like Iron Man never got to fight like the real Mandarin, right? We never even got to see the real Mandarin until Shang-Chi, which is after Tony died anyway. Now I think where they're headed in terms of that example is like you get to a new era where like you have a Tony Stark again, and now you can actually face the Mandarin for real in the storyline. We can adapt storylines that we missed before. We can do full-fledged Illuminati that's comic accurate. You can do Avengers versus X-Men. It's the actual teams that you had before. I think that's probably where they're wanting to go, as opposed to like new Mantle characters. Like, even though you could do this with new Mantle characters, we had thought about this before with in regards to telling stories with like Riri Williams in the place of Iron Man and stuff like that. But also when you look at those storylines, Riri Williams and her mindset is not Tony in those specific storylines, right? Like they're not the same character. You can't just like trade out. So I can see why they want to do that. And I think what they would do in the soft reboot is obviously they're not going to get RDJ back again. They would get a new face for Iron Man, but also some old faces carrying over, like somebody like Tom Holland to Spider-Man and stuff.
Ooh,
which is quite the sell, right?
I wouldn't know how I would feel about that, to be honest.
Yeah.
As an audience member, they're watching these movies in 2008. If I go into 2026 and we're like, a new Tony Stark is back, a new Captain America, I'll be like, oh, so this shit is never ending. Because then that's dangerous really for me. I'm like,
that's why when you think back to the quote of like, we barely scratched the surface, it's like, I feel like that's what they mean in regards
that's dangerous. Because like, unfortunately, it has to end eventually.
Not if they do this.
You're right. Not if they do this, and that's right. But for me, I'm like, there's going to be diminishing returns. You can't just revamp Tony Stark and have people be excited for another Iron Man movie 20 years after the first one.
It's like what they do in comics, right? Where like they'll do like these big colliding universe world-ending events, and then next thing you know,
all new, all
different. Ultimate and 616 have molded into one Earth. Now Miles is running around with OG 616 Spidey. Stuff like that.
That works in comics. Would that work in film?
That's another funny thing as I was thinking about in regards to like, it seems like Marvel has obviously gotten to a place where they can function like comic book runs, where like we have this issue telling this overarching arc for a storyline. But whereas they've taken the positives of comic book storytelling, they are also bringing in the negatives of comic book storytelling, and that doesn't, just because you're a new medium doesn't mean you're without these problems.
And it's shown throughout Phase 4, in terms of just like, there's like these cool disparate stories, but they're also trying to weave together in mysterious ways, whether it's in a loosely multiversal saga, as Feige liked to claim it was. Sure. And then Phase 5 is supposed to be the Kang saga, at least a little bit here. But man, going forward with the Secret Wars rebooting everything, I would want just to reboot on a forward level. Just move forward. But I also understand, like you're saying, them wanting to start fresh so they could get like an Iron Man meeting Mr. Fantastic. So they could get those things that they couldn't get in the past. And I understand that from a creative side, but also from another side of creatively, I would want just to move forward. Just move forward. Those characters that are dead, and then you find an endpoint. Because X-Men, regardless of rebooting other characters from the past, with X-Men and Fantastic Four, that's another 10 years easily. Just like what Fox did, right? And we already have some X-Men characters, or we already have some other Marvel characters that can continue with us, like a Black Panther, or they could do it in the Black Panther because of what happened with Chadwick, but like Black Panther, Captain Marvel, those characters can interact with the X-Men. Those are cool, but you don't have to reboot everything. Come on.
That's actually another like kind of like eye into what we would be getting in regards to the setup from Wakanda Forever, right? Is like they established that T'Challa has a son and he bears the same name. So when he grows up, you would effectively have, here is a T'Challa that is Black Panther. It's not Chadwick, but it is still T'Challa as Black Panther. And effectively that works canonically within the function of the story, and it's very like honorable. But then if you're going into this reboot idea that kind of takes that in less of a meaningful way, and it's just like, this is how it is now,
I wouldn't like that.
Yeah, it's a lot less emotionally resonant. I also get from a studio standpoint of like, how do we how do we
age them up.
Yeah, well, no, rather in regards to this reboot is the
Oh,
whole idea is like how do we continue our high functioning universe that we built because we are the top dogs in regards to we are the ones people look to when they want a big universe, and I think it's very clear that they can't grapple with the idea of it ending. So like
they're
how do
like,
we
how do
keep
we continue
running?
it?
How do you restart in this day and age? Because clearly other people are trying to and they can't do it. Like because they really were like a lightning in the bottle place and time, right? So they're like, what do? We can have it be a through line to where like all existing fans have gotten to this point, and now we're at this point where like if you know have like these little ties where like you remember the full arcing journey, then you're still emotionally resonant with the existing things to come. Or if you're a new viewer and you don't want to watch at this point for sure 100 plus hours of content to sorry to say content, but like 100 plus of the filmography, then you can start here like a new reader in a comic book series, and it's like, okay, cool, this is our journey now, here are our characters, these are the Avengers, and here are the classic, this is the Iron Man, this is the Captain America, and another Captain America, because why the fuck would you take this away from Sam Wilson
And
already?
that makes complete sense. You're right. Like in 2028, my kid's not going to be like, so, Dad, do I have to watch Iron Man 1 from 2008? You shouldn't
Which
have to.
it's funny because like even when I like look at this stuff with like my nephew, it's like I will gladly go on this journey with you, but we're gonna take a few months.
Yeah. So yeah, even somebody who's like, I want to start in Phase 4, you could, but you'd still be a bit confused, even though it's after Endgame. You'd still be a bit confused, even if it's after Endgame. You kind of have to watch Endgame.
And I also get it from a financial standpoint. It's like big commitment to get 10 years of stuff to get to Endgame. And granted, like a lot of people grew up with it, right? Grew up with the stories and stuff like I did. And so when we were hitting this conclusive point, we're like, this is a big thing. Like I remember, like still to this day, thinking back, which sounds fucked to say, like it was an eternity ago, it was 4 years ago, but that is also like, oh my god, it was 4 years ago, Endgame. Going to that point and experiencing that conclusion in the theater was like, it was a cultural event. You can't really expect a general audience to like have what we're going to go on 15 to 20 years before Secret Wars, and it's like to have that same emotional residency. So if they wanted to start again and then do again like more comic accurate storylines, if they want, like they could do Age of Ultron, but it's actually Age of Ultron. Like they like big time travel.
I don't think they do that. I don't think they do storylines they've already done before in movies.
Well, that's the thing is like when you think about it, like it's really name only. They didn't really do the story.
Well, sure, but what do you call the movie then? Do you call it Age of Ultron 2? What would you do? You can't call it Age of Ultron.
I know that's
right?
the funny thing is like
so I don't think they redo storyline, but I think they do things that they couldn't do before. Like sure. They just do an original story.
Yeah, because there are so many.
Yeah, there are so many. They just do another story that they couldn't do before. Like but you said, they could do Avengers Disassembled, or they can do a Disassembled, or they can do a House of M. Characters that have Marvel characters and X-Men characters like in their storylines they just couldn't do before. Yeah. They don't have to do an Age of Ultron again. They could do an Age of Apocalypse, which includes everybody as well. They can do stuff like that they couldn't do before. They could do without having to redo storyline.
They could even do like the modern Secret Wars. Maybe not call it Secret Wars again, but like where that overarching story is mainly Reed Richards versus Doctor Doom.
They can definitely do that. Yeah, they probably call it something else, but yeah, the Doom Wars or whatever.
But then it does also make me like trepidatious with like the idea of the marketing of it all, because obviously if they were to bring back heroes in the new era, they would no doubt do it with villains, and I can imagine it's like it's the 30th anniversary of Marvel, and the man who started it all, Thanos, is back. Like, oh fuck.
Yeah, again, don't bring back Thanos. We don't need to see Thanos again. We don't need to see Ultron again.
But
there's thousands of Marvel villains. You don't have to do those characters again.
You're absolutely right. And while I agree with you on that, do you think the studio would also
agree on that? I think Feige's like actually Feige's the same character that brought back every single Spider-Man villain in No Way Home for no reason. So you could have done new villains. I still hate that quote where he's like, nobody can play Green Goblin besides fucking Willem Dafoe. Yes, somebody can. Do another Green Goblin. Do another Doc Ock. but you don't want to because you want to play it safe. I get it.
That is weird. That is weird. I mean, yeah, and I had pitched for a while, like, yeah, I want to see Tom's Norman Osborn. I was pitching fucking Bob Odenkirk as Norman Osborn, and like,
right?
That would rock. Is so cool. Like,
did you see that Tom Holland quote, by the way? He was like, if I'm 30, still playing Spider-Man. Something's like, no, Tom, stop it. You're still playing Spider-Man because we've hardly gotten a good Spider-Man. I gotta go soon. But yeah, okay. So yeah, so I'm just like, come on. But yeah, the more you talk about it, Nathan, the more I'm nervous and like my stomach's churning. Like I can't do another 30 years as a fan.
It is weird because I don't want to be like I don't want to be the curmudgeon that's just like, it's not my Iron Man back in my day. Like
me neither, right? I'm always gonna be open to it. I'm open to anything. Yeah. But
and I believe, like, obviously, like, there are plenty of actors who can deliver wonderful interpretations of these characters. Well, again, the last decade, we've had 3 Spider-Man who have all done a phenomenal job. We've seen that this is possible. It feels weird at first, like with any initial reboot, for a beloved character that we love their performance, that we're like, all right, how's this new kid on the block gonna handle it, right?
Yeah, but either way, yeah. So it's nerve-wracking, but maybe it could be all out of their hands with box office as well. Going full circle with our discussion, box office could be the if that tanks, then creatively that they tank. So we'll see. But yeah, I have to head out. But this was a fun discussion. Marvel TV, Marvel movies, things are changing. Things are going to change. It depends how many people are going to be there, and creatively they can handle those changes and make it the appropriate way. For me, at least, I just want them to move forward. And I think I hope that Feige knows what he's doing. But we'll see. Go see the Marvels, November 3rd, 10th, whatever it is.
Did it move up? I saw something moved up, and I was like, what?
I don't know. Anyways, find me on Twitter, Harris EV9. I'm about to go watch House of Usher and some anime. It's Flanagan night, baby. It's anime night, baby. We roll deep. Once again, go check out Big Brother, Survivor, The Traitors, Amazing Race. I'm watching it all. So if you follow me, be ready for those tweets as well.
Fuck, we didn't get to talk about Gen V.
Next week, baby. Next week. Next
time, baby. And then guess who got rebooted? Full circle, like the flow of time in Loki. Another full circle. Boom.
Woo!
Full circle with the second power. You like that, Teach?
I'm not a math teacher.
I know. Follow me on _TimeBlazer. Making a show called Time Blazer with creative consultant and co-star Evan Harris.
Claim Ben, the best character in Time Blazer.
Where we take time with our characters to, get you emotionally attached. Fun time.
Taking time.
That wasn't a pun. I was just.
Yes, it was.
What? No,
it was. Own it. Own it.
No, it wasn't. Look, we're all friends here. Don't be rash. That means I don't want to lose Will Poulter. I hope we keep him.
He's gone.
No, he's not.
He'll be in the Bear season 3. He's too busy.
He wasn't season 2. Holy shit. So that being said, if you guys like this discussion, hit like, subscribe, now ring the bell so you don't miss future discussion on Loki and all things Marvel. That being said, I hope you have a great day. Catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.